Sweeney. Dwayne Sweeney. Sweeney's over.
Can you please hand it over to your captain, Dwayne Sweeney?
Welcome to Real Tales with Sweens, proudly brought to you by Fish City Hamilton. Fish City has been servicing the Waikatos fishing, boating and outdoor needs for over 30 years. And now with the help of their online store, their great range of products and outstanding customer service is available across New Zealand. This episode I catch up with Joe Edlington, or as many of you will know him, J.E.Wilds. Many of you listeners will remember Joe from a previous episode. For those of you that don't know Joe, he is one of New Zealand's leading content creators. He does this by documenting his hunting and fishing adventures through his YouTube channels J.E.Wilds Fishing and J.E.Wilds Hunting. A lot has changed for Joe since he was last a guest on the podcast, and through this episode, he shares a few more chapters of his tale. From catching big kingies off the rocks, to becoming a father, and hunting the stag of a lifetime in the remote West Coast bush. This episode has it all. As always, the show notes will be available on the Real Tales with Sweens Instagram and Facebook pages, as well as the website realtaleswithsweens.com. The good people at Good George have a 15% discount available for all you listeners. Just use the discount code REALTALES before checking out of their online store. The link for their store is also available on the realtaleswithsweens.com homepage. Lastly, I want to make special mention to Joe. Thanks very much, mate, for taking the time out of your journey heading north on the way back from another epic hunting mission. It was great to catch up, mate, and it was awesome to hear some more chapters of your tale, and I'm glad that I can share them with all you listeners. So join me as we catch up with J.E.Wilds. Enjoy the podcast. Welcome back, Joe. For the listeners, got Joe Edlington here. Most of you will know him as J.E.Wilds on Instagram or YouTube, and yeah, me and Joe, when did we record our last episode?
It was ages ago.
Yeah, ages ago, eh?
Yeah,
when I just sort of started out, I think I reached out.
Would it be like 3 years ago?
Probably, yeah. Probably about 3 years ago. The podcast's been going for 3 years. You were one of the earlier episodes. I guess like we started out, I reached out through Instagram, like sort of most of my guests, Instagram pen pals, and become mates, and we probably talk on the phone, a fair bit, but don't get to actually see each other that often, or you're either on the rocks somewhere or in the bush. So thanks for stopping in, mate.
Well, the thing is, man, we talk that much, and every time I'm coming past, I'm like, I gotta call and see Sweens. I just never do. I'm just a useless mate.
Oh yeah, but that's life. It gets in the way.
Yeah, I think those long drives, it's like once you sort of get your head down, you just go, eh?
Yeah.
But I'm on my way home now. How long? I've been hunting since May. It's July now, so it's like I'm on my way home, and I just thought I rang you this morning, and I was like, dude, I'm coming past.
Yeah. And
then I was like, we're doing it. I'm stopping in. We're having a catch up to have a coffee. For you guys that don't know, Sweens is like a very good barista. He makes like, out of all the coffees I've had in the last few months, like nothing compares to Sweens coffees, eh? He's if you ever stop becoming a rugby coach, just go
open
work
a
for VP in a cafe.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy my coffee. I think it's I don't know. I think I like it because it's like I guess it's kind of like a form of art in a way, just like, it's why I kind of gravitate to the outdoors too, Hunting and fishing is like a process to it, and it's about cracking the code and getting it right. And when it all sort of lines up, you have a good experience whether you're in the bush or on the water. And, same thing if you get all your stars aligned and you get your grind right and you got good coffee and you get the milk just right, you have a good coffee.
Well, watching you make them in that machine, man, you definitely know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I love my coffee, as you know, too.
Yeah, I do.
I've had some shockers, man.
Yeah.
From places you buy them, and they're just shockers. But I'd happily buy a coffee off you, Sweens, any day.
Oh, cheers, mate. Cheers. Well, I won't make you pay, so. Yeah, but like, let's I suppose let's start off like you just mentioned there. You've been down south so those that don't know, Joe lives up in the far north of. Whereabouts are you based? And just out of Tutukaka, right?
Yeah,
right?
near Tutukaka.
Yeah, which is just north of Whangarei. For those sort of overseas listeners, which we're getting a few more of those now, which is pretty cool. which is, I guess, how far north of Auckland? Like,
so to get to the airport, it takes me about 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours.
yeah,
so.
yeah. And he's just been down south, like in our South Island, which, what's the total driving time from where you live to where you've sort of, I guess, mainly been based down there?
It takes me about 3 days, I reckon.
Yeah.
And that's like with a few stops and, catch ups and things like that. I reckon I could do it in 2 days. But yeah, I sort of do the process over 3 days just so it's a bit more relaxed that way.
Yeah.
Stop off at a few places and just don't really I don't know. Driving takes it out of you, eh? So it's always good to have a few rests here and there. But I've been driving since today's my 3rd day.
Yeah.
And I'll be home tonight.
Nice.
Is the plan.
That's the plan. Yeah, well, I suppose like in terms of like breaking it up, you just been at J.E.Wilds' place. So those that watch Joe's YouTube channel, which I'm sure probably all of you that are listening have done, you would have seen Joe, the other Joe, feature, and then J.E.Wilds obviously. Oh, J.E.Wilds featured a few times too, hasn't he? At certain
if you go back a bit, there's quite a few videos with J.E.Wilds in there as well and all the stuff. I used to work for J.E.Wilds Guiding. J.E.Wilds basically family to me, so I stayed there last night. He's in the central North Island and stayed there last night after I got off the ferry and went from Wellington up to central North Island. Stayed with Gerald and Brenda, and then since leaving their place this morning, I've sort of made my way up here.
One thing I did want to talk about, we were just talking about when we had a coffee, was obviously you were like a hunting guide, and now it's you're doing it more for yourself and to, I guess, provide the content that you do for all of us that can't get out there and hunt as much to enjoy through your YouTube channel. But in terms of that guiding, like that we spoke about it, it's the same for me with fishing, providing those experiences to people, and like that's something you do miss a little bit about the guiding side.
Yeah, so I there's definitely aspects of the guiding I miss.
Yep.
And I was saying off air before, Sweens, this year is the biggest season. I think it's the biggest season in history by quite a bit for the guiding industry. The hunting
in
industry.
New Zealand?
In New Zealand, yeah, because we've had, since COVID, we've had like 3 years where international travel's been difficult or non-existent. So there's like a backlog of clients for pretty much 3 years, three seasons. So this year's been massive in the hunting industry, the guiding industry. All the outfitters, all the guiding businesses have been like screaming out for guides and experienced staff to join them for the season, and to just take in this immense amount of clients that are coming through. So there's been some crazy stuff happen this year in that industry. It's cool that it's ramped up again because it was dormant for so long. And this is like something that's ingrained into me over the years, is working in that industry. But I mean, I'm really enjoying what I do now, and that's hunting for myself. But there are aspects that I miss about the guiding, and that's like the excitement in the clients, the excitement in the people that I'm getting through the hunt. So I don't really get to experience that anymore with what I'm doing. But I mean, it all sort of is pros and cons to everything. But I haven't hunted for myself. Before doing the YouTube stuff, I hadn't hunted for myself for years, man. So it's like, it's pretty exciting to do this myself, man, to be honest. Yeah.
And I suppose that you're still providing that experience for others. It's just in a different format too. Like, for me, like watching, I get so much excitement through watching you go hunting. And I think, well, I've mentioned it like probably a number of times on the podcast to different people, and it's really, I get a lot of, I think you do a great job of sort of sharing that moment and experience with people. And you do a really good job of articulating, I guess, the hunt and through your imagery and through your storytelling and stuff. So, you're definitely still providing it, but you probably don't see it face to face as much. But you must get a lot of people, I suppose, that will reach out and, write comments or send you a message about how much they appreciate it.
Yeah, there's heaps of that, and I always enjoy reading that, man. 100%. And yeah, you're right. Like, I don't see it face to face like I would with a client at my side, but it's still providing some excitement out there, which is pretty cool, and worldwide stuff too, which is amazing.
Yeah, because how far has the channel reached? You get a lot of overseas viewership. Must do.
Yeah, worldwide.
Yeah.
For sure, worldwide. USA, Australia, New Zealand. They're probably the biggest.
They're the
three
big two.
biggest.
Is New Zealand
geographies.
still the biggest audience for you?
No,
Or
USA would be
USA's
bigger.
the biggest. Yeah.
But I think if you think about it in the large scheme of things, like America compared to New Zealand is a huge difference, man.
Yeah.
So for what the people I reach in New Zealand is still a really good percentage of overall viewership.
Yep.
And America just trumps that just because of the sheer size of the place.
Size, yeah.
So yeah, it's a good mixture. Like when I release a video, whether it be on my hunting channel or my fishing channel, generally for the first 2 or 3 days, New Zealand is the leading geographic.
Just cranks.
And then it sort of spreads out from there. It starts going overseas, Australia, USA, and it generally gets a pretty good strong foothold in the USA after 5 to 7 days, and then it cranks from there. But yeah, it's a pretty diverse audience, man, which is cool.
And I suppose America, New Zealand is a bit of a hunting destination for Americans, eh? Like we talk about you spoke about the guiding there, but most of those clients that come from overseas, are they American?
Yeah, in New Zealand, it's definitely the largest percentage of international hunters coming over here are Americans.
Yeah.
Because it is, like you say, it's a destination, so it's a bucket list hunt for most people.
Yeah.
Overseas hunters that love their hunting and travel for hunting. Coming to New Zealand is the pinnacle. It's regarded as one of the best places in the world to hunt, just due to our sheer variety of game and terrain. Man, you've got mountains and you drive a couple of hours and you've got ocean, and then you've got lakes and rivers, and we're pretty blessed with what we've got here in New Zealand. So people know that overseas, and I guess that's why we get the hunting industry in New Zealand is literally $1 billion industry. The guiding it's $1 billion sort of thing. It's big money stuff, and we get a lot of people coming over here now that the borders have opened up. It's you go to the airports, man, places like Queenstown especially, and there's just guys rocking up off planes and they're full dressed in camo, and you can tell what they're here for, eh? So it cracks me up. But it's good though. It's good for the economy and stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gives a lot of people jobs and stuff.
Yeah, it's probably something that we don't, I guess the general public that don't hunt probably don't realise the impact and influence it does have in terms of, I guess the country's financial kind of base, you think of all the hunting and fishing stores and that across New Zealand, obviously we, as Kiwis, enjoy the outdoors, but they probably don't realise the overseas market that also has a big impact on those kind of places, especially one that, is based in Queenstown, where everyone's sort of coming into.
Oh, exactly, man. And, most of those major ports like Christchurch, Auckland, they're all getting these hunters come through, and I know quite a few of the store owners in those areas, and they said that, a lot of their, through the guiding season, which basically is end of February through to August, they're getting so many international guys come through and just buying up large, man. All this new camo they've never seen, and all this new gear that, they can't get over in the States or whatever, they just buy it up. So, it's good, all that money's going towards something. It's quite good.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool when because I suppose because it's something for myself as growing up, being into the outdoors and hunting, never really understood what people call the high fence hunting, but it is so it's a massive industry for us here in New Zealand, and how it all works is quite it's a lot different than what you actually think once you talk to people that have kind of been in the industry.
Definitely. Definitely. I think there's so many operations in New Zealand too that are doing it, and they all do it in their different ways. So there's good variety of what sort of hunt you can expect to have.
Well, I remember last time you spoke about J.E.Wilds property and how different that is, compared to what people necessarily think it's like.
No, J.E.Wilds offers a different sort of experience, which is pretty cool.
And then he also takes clients down south there and does tar hunting and stuff too.
So through the tar rut, which is sort of that May June time frame, they generally go down there and get into the tar and the chamois and all that sort of stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, bro, I miss, there's definitely things I miss about it. And I think like the interacting with the people, I miss that big time. But on the other hand, man, like I'm loving just traveling around doing my own missions. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sort of moved from one thing to another, I guess.
Yeah, and then you were saying just before, like having to put like a physical date on it, otherwise you just keep hunting, eh?
Oh, exactly. yeah. And I know, like, I haven't seen. So my fiance Catherine.
This is something new that we didn't like. That's come about since our last episode.
What's that?
Oh, you got a fiance now.
Oh, yeah.
I think Catherine was on the scene. in the last episode, but I think it was around that time. It was because all the COVID stuff, and you're trying to get her here to New Zealand, and it was a bit of a nightmare, eh?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so it must have been 3 years ago, man.
Yeah.
So me and Catherine have been together 5 years, and I finally asked her to marry me.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
nice.
We're engaged and get married later this year. But another thing too, man, we got a daughter on the scene now.
Yeah.
Which you know about, Sweens. But you've actually met her too, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, up the boat show.
People probably don't know about that so much. Her name's River, and so it's a bit of a change at home for me. But, where I was going with this is, so my so for you guys that don't know, I've basically run 2 YouTube channels now, and both of them come under the name J.E.Wilds. So I do a hunting channel, I do a fishing channel, and for the first, pretty much from say sometime in March through till now or later even, I'm away hunting, and normally I'll be based in the South Island, remote locations, sort of 6 months of the year, hunting, editing, doing it all from there. But this year, with little baby on the scene now, 5.5 months old, and that, Catherine's stayed back at home up north, and instead of me going and living away for 6 months with them, well, with Catherine normally, I'm just going away for shorter periods of time. So I think I started my first hunt. So my first episodes that I was filming this year was I went down on the 26th of March, I think it was, or 27th of March, and I had some raw hunting to do, so stags on the west coast, which you've seen the videos of that, haven't you, Swings?
Yep.
I did, first of all, it was like 8 days on the west coast solo in the raw, which was, like hunt of my life. It was incredible. And then come out for a few days, and then travel to a new location and in Canterbury, different, whole change of scenery type thing. Went and did another, I think I did 9 days on that one, and did some more stuff down there, but those are pretty much the ones I filmed. And then then I went home, man. I was home for a bit, and then
home for a night, and then you went to the Three Kings.
True. So finally got home, guys, and this was on this is April, end of April sometime. I was home for one night, and then I had a trip that I was asked to go and be part of, which was with Daiwa and hunting and fishing. And it was actually, if in New Zealand you might remember, in the hunting and fishing stores they had a promo going. If you spend $50 or more on Daiwa product in the store, you go into the draw to win a paid for trip to Three Kings Island, which is, that's a cool thing, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, that promo sort of finished, and a whole lot of people got their names drawn out of the hat basically, and they won this paid for trip on a charter to go to the Kings, which is pretty cool. And I was lucky enough to be invited along and be part of that. So we had 2 boats up there, and it was pretty cool, man. But I think, I will admit, at the time I wasn't too frothing about it because I'd just been away doing all these hardcore hunts, and I was pretty I needed a rest, man. And I finally got home, and I was home for one night, saw my family, and then I was like, oh, see you later, Catherine, I'm out here. And then I boosted away, and I was gone for another 6 days or something fishing at the Kings. And then pretty much after that, it was I think I was home for another 2 or 3 weeks, and then I came back down to the South Island in May, and back into it, man. So I've been away since. So I haven't really seen my little family for too much this year.
Yeah. That's for that. Well, I suppose for those that don't know, the Three Kings Islands is off the top of New Zealand, off North Cape there, Well, it's home to all the like big kingfish, eh? Like that's what it's sort of well known for, and
it would easily be the best place in the world for kingfish, I would say.
It would, eh?
Yeah. For big kingfish.
Yeah. And you've had a pretty amazing trip, eh, in terms of the quality and the number of fish caught.
Yeah, we did, man. So that was the first time I'd actually been to the Kings myself, and we don't know how many fish we caught, but we were saying that if we said 100 kingfish on our boat, that's just our boat, not the other one. Mm-hmm. We were saying if we told someone 100 kingfish would be about on the money. Yeah. And that's in 5 days or 4 days fishing or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which was, it was pretty crazy. We had one hot bite session that was just, the skipper was calling it the best bite session he's had in 10 years. Which is pretty cool to hear from a guy like him.
That fishes it so often.
And has done for so long. So, and it was wild, guys. It was like, we were shallow water. It was like 40 meters, I think. And every bait, as soon as the bait got down to depth of about, I don't know, sort of like mid water or 2/3 down, it would get picked up by fish and you'd just be getting railed, man. And like the average fish we were catching in this bite was probably like early 20s to mid 20s. That was the average fish. Yeah. We would have got 50 kingfish on that session that lasted 2 hours maybe. Yeah, 2 hours, maybe a bit more. It was like by the end of it, I mean, there was on the boat I was on, there was myself and a couple of Daiwa employees and some hunting and fishing staff. And by the end of it, there's 8 of us, I think there was 8 of us. By the end of it, no one wanted the rod. We were that tired. It was just like the deckhands were getting baits hooked up and everything, and it was like, all right, who's on this one? No one was like, everyone was shaking their heads like, nah.
Not bad enough.
So it was just like, man, you were spent, hey? Like, they take it out of you, those big fish, and they go real hard. So we were feeling it by the end of it, but it was a bite session to never forget, man. It was incredible. Like, we even got to the point where we were trying to get the skipper on the rod, and he's like, I'm not picking that rod up. And then the deckhands, like, we gave the deckhands, I think they got 2 big fish each. Yeah. And that was pretty cool, man, because they, we asked them, I said, oh, you boys must catch heaps of kingies and stuff like that on these trips. And they said, no, we never really get the opportunity. No one really gives us the opportunity. They're there to do work, They're there to be the deckhand and make it smooth for the clients. But yeah, it's sort of like, it's kind of weird hearing that they don't really get the opportunity. But we were just like, here's the rod, man, get in there. And they, like, at the start, they didn't want to take the rod, because they thought they'd get in trouble. And we actually had to go and ask the skipper to, is it all right if we give them a rod? And he's like, oh, as long as you boys are happy. And we were like, man, if they don't catch fish, we're not going to be stoked. So we gave them the rods, and they were into it, man. So that was pretty cool. So the whole boat was frothing, man. It was awesome. Yeah, it was a good trip. It was a real good trip in the end. At the start, I wasn't too stoked about it, just for the fact I was ready for home. But by the end of it, I was like, man, I'm so stoked I did that. Like, we got some incredible photos from it. I think in my album that I put together, there was over 200 really good images in there. Yeah. Big fish, action, just cool stuff. Yeah,
and the scenery of the Three Kings, like it's
wild
rough
place.
And raw, and there's some pretty cool shots and some cool footage that I've seen too, which no doubt comes out of that hot bite session. Yeah, and it's wild. Like, it's not flat calm, and
there's a swell rolling.
Yeah.
When we were going up there was like 5 point something meters. You guys were fishing that the Anglers Escape at the time, but it was like 5 point something meters rolling up the west coast. Yeah. So we were getting the tail end of that by the time we started fishing, but it was still like at least 3 meters of solid groundswell hitting. But those boats, they can handle it. Yeah. A couple of the boys got a bit sick, but it's sort of, they come right in the end. Like,
we kind of have to, eh? 5 days, you better,
but
better suck it up.
Yeah, there's heaps of fish caught, man, and some big ones. We got some real good fish and big dogs, but also heaps of bass and puka, which is cool. And the other boat, they got a marlin. They got a yellowfin to the boat and dropped it, unfortunately. Yeah. We had a tuna bite, but most likely yellowfin, but didn't set the hooks on it. So it was a bit of, going from spot to spot with sort of trolling lures. So there's always a chance of catching something like that. Yeah. What else have we
And it can be one of the best places in the world when the marlin are there for like a bite, especially striped marlin in New Zealand. It can be pretty hot.
Yeah, I don't know how big. Did you see a photo of the fish the other guys got? You must have seen another boat. Yeah, it looked like quite a good fish.
Yeah.
But we didn't see any marlin
Yeah.
on our boat. But I mean, like, yeah, that hot bite we had, and we had some good bite sessions, but that particular hot bite was just,
Yeah.
man, that's like, when you think of the Three Kings, that's what you think of.
Yeah.
So I was
Pretty cool to be able to experience
pretty
that,
cool,
eh?
man. Honestly, pretty cool. Pretty cool to have a go and just get into action like that.
Yeah. And then one of the shots that you were just talking about is on the current cover of New Zealand Fishing News, eh?
That's right. Yeah. Cupcake and foo with a bass and a pooker.
Yeah.
It's on the latest issue of NZ Fishing News.
Yeah.
It was a photo I took on we did a morning of deep dropping.
Yeah.
And those boys, they had a double and they got those fish and thought, oh, let's get a photo together.
Yeah.
So yeah, NZ Fishing News were pretty keen to put that on the cover, which I'm always stoked to see my work being used like that. So yeah, it's always good in my opinion, man.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty cool. And I read your write-up. You got a write-up in there too.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah. Triple marlin.
Yeah.
The mini chiefy.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. No, that was a pretty magic day that I don't know if I've actually even spoken about that on the podcast. But yeah, it was I think I said it in the article that I wrote. It's like when you're, I guess if you're an outdoorsman or person that really enjoys the outdoors and you're into hunting and fishing and that kind of thing, those are the kind of moments that you spend your whole life searching for, and they don't come around either. Like it wasn't something that I thought would ever happen, especially to catch them all. Like I've had one other triple before, have a couple of like double, sort of hookups, but yeah, to have to hook three, and then for one angler to catch all three of them was pretty impressive. Like my mate Mark that was on the rod. Yeah, like I played musical chairs, so IGFA rules, they don't count as a triple because I picked up one of the rods, but to us, like we weren't worried about that. We didn't even tag the fish, we just let them go. It was pretty choice to be able to, sort of that to happen, and you kind of sit there and go, holy shit, did we just do that? Like, yeah.
It's a massive feat, man. If you think about it, 3 marlin hooked up at once in a trailer boat, lines going everywhere, fish going everywhere, chaos.
Yeah.
It's like there's only 2 of you. One of them, you've got to drive the boat. Yeah. Mark's got to control all the rods.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in that situation, man. You guys did extremely well to get those.
Yeah. No, it was pretty special. It was definitely something I'll never forget.
So the lines would have crossed over at times, eh?
Yeah, they did. We're pretty lucky, man. Like right at the start, obviously one bit ate the long rigger first, so that was like the lure furthest out the back.
Wait, you should tell them about. So in your article, you guys had a hook up first and lost it, eh? Was that what you were about to tell?
No.
Yeah, so you lost the fish like prior.
We lost the fish. Yeah, we lost the fish. Maybe 20 minutes, 40 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
Fish come in, ate the short rigger, that one, and then, we fought it for, 10, 15 minutes, I suppose. Didn't get a look at it. We kind of figured it was a marlin the way it was acting, but marlin jump when they're hooked. Like when they're hurt, that's when they jump. This didn't jump, but it was swimming around like a marlin, like high in the water column, real erratic, which is general behavior of one that's not hooked. And they kind of know something's not up or not right, but because we don't have a lot of drag on the fish, they kind of don't know what it is. 15 minutes, I suppose it took us to 10 or 15 to get sort of close enough to it, and then it sort of revealed itself, and it was a marlin, and did a like real sort of lazy jump. Then it came up again and just shook its head and just threw the lure off, so that one was gone. And then we're kind of like, shit, it's probably our kind of chance, but we're working like good area that I've had a bit of success in before, and then just sort of made the comment and make a pass down the sort of current side of this bank that the water was obviously hitting, and got to the bottom corner of the bank, and we're trying to decide where to go next, kind of thing, because we're a little bit torn because I've been sort of catching most of my fish just inside me, and mate was catching a few just sort of south of us, and I was like, what do we kind of do? And then the long rigger went off, and we're like, oh, yep, sweet, here he is. And then bang, the short corner went off. So we had, obviously, one ate the closest lure to the boat, the other one ate the furthest lure. So that, I guess that kind of helped for like a non-tangle to start with. And I quickly just took the boat straight out of gear, especially when you got like multiple fish on. You don't want sort of too much line in the water, and if the boat's moving forward, you're just dumping more and more line into the water. Took the boat out of gear, pulled the other corner lure out of the rigger, sort of tossed the line clear to keep it, the slack line from tangling, and wound into it, and the rod loaded up, and I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, I made the call, I was like, triple, and then he was like, my mate was like, nah, no way. And then the fish jumped, like his fish jumped because he'd already picked one rod up. And I was like, oh, no, it sort of swum across the boat and it's tangled this other line, and that's why it's tight. But then the other fish poked its head out, and it was pretty clear. I was like, oh, no, shit, we do have 3 on. And then we were pretty lucky. His one turned and went under the boat and went out the other way. The one out the back had gone off into the horizon, and then it kind of looped around, and that's the rod I ended up picking up because it took off out and went all the way around the front of the boat. And then it was pretty comical trying to work out what fish was what. And but we were pretty lucky. The 2 that kind of stayed closest like split themselves in opposite directions, so that kind of helped us a bit. They did go around sort of in a circle jumping where I thought they might have cut each other off, but they must have been going in the same direction. So we're pretty lucky that they all stayed on and they didn't cut one another off.
Oh, it's a crazy situation. Before the hookup too, you could smell bait fish, so you knew you were in like a feeding zone where the fish are feeding. Yeah.
It's just that's like a new thing this year in terms of like a sense and being in tune with the environment. I noticed it quite a bit, and it must have been what the marlin were feeding on in terms of the type of fish. But it was like a real hot smell, like sort of when I first smelled it, it smelled like an electrical kind of fuse had gone or something in the boat.
Oh.
Yeah, like a kind of burning smell. And I was like, oh shit, what's that? And then all hell broke loose. That was, going a couple of weeks prior when I first kind of smelt it, and we had a fish come in straight away. And then, I guess I noticed it across maybe 3 or 4 trips prior to that day. But then, every time I smelt that smell, we got bit. Like, so whatever the fish were doing in that area, no doubt feeding, and whatever they were feeding on, it was like a burny kind of electrical burn, but almost like cigarettes and pilchards kind of smell. It smelled like someone was smoking a durry somewhere on a boat, and there was a whole lot of bait all smashed up somewhere, but that was kind of what it smelled like.
I guess for the future though, like as soon as you smell that, boys, get ready.
Get ready. Put the gimbal on.
What lures were you running for the fish? Were they all 3 fish on the triple? Were they all hooked on different like style lures? Or
So all different. So all one brand. I just use Bonz's lures. So the one that ate the long rigger was on the Weapon, which is like a bullet weighted head kind of lure. Sits just under the surface. Kind of looks like a little fish head. Color is like silver and like blue. And then the one that on the short corner is like a Trojan, which is like a cup face lure. It's kind of round with a like cup in the face like that. People listening won't be able to understand that, and then that's like a black and purple one, and that kind of sucks in and pulls down. And I run that one in close. And then the one that the third one that ate my Kraken, which is like a kind of angled face lure that's got like a little bit of weight in it, but it's quite aggressive surface lure. It like pops and wiggles and stuff. Like up behind, that's like an orange, brown, and white, sort of colour.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I bet you those lures there are going to be ones you're like,
right,
they're going out first next time.
Yeah. Well, they to be fair, the Kraken and the Trojan, they're always generally out. That Kraken's probably caught in the last 3 years probably 80% of my fish.
Oh,
70-80%. I would at a guess.
There's probably going to be like big, all you guys listening is probably like people typing in, just going to buy them up now. Let's get ready for the season.
Yeah, no, it's a good
bonds
lure.
Will sell out now.
Yeah, it's a good lure, and it's a good colour too. Like that, the colour's called Boss. If you are going to jump online and buy it, but Kraken and Boss, and then the Trojans, Galaxy's the name of the colour, and then the Weapon is Alivar is the name of it, which is named after Zach Holmberg's boat actually, which is someone that's become friends through fishing, I guess.
Yeah.
He's probably listening, but he's pretty lucky. He's got a lure named after, or colour named after his boat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There'll be a mini chiefy coming up soon.
Yeah.
No, I think it's probably quite important to touch on that though, because I mean, you'd have a lot of people listening that love their marlin fishing, and they probably often wonder like what lures you use and what colours. So probably good to talk about, eh?
Yeah. It's probably it's not something I generally am asking all the questions of the guests. So thanks for that, Joe.
Oh, we're just having a casual chat, mate. Just as usual.
Yeah. It must be pretty, like you talked about the family life there, but Catherine's been a big part of the YouTube channel since she's been here in New Zealand. So has it been quite an interesting adaptation for her into, without, obviously she's not here to answer the question, but in terms of like, does she no doubt misses being out there in the wild with you?
Yeah, she does, man.
Yeah.
She does, because she loves being outside, whether it's hunting or fishing,
Mm.
So she is a bit gutted to be missing these trips, but I mean, it's only like short term. Eventually
River will be there
outdoor,
with you pretty shortly.
That's the plan, man. So, I mean, for the big trips, like what I've been doing this year, the big like wilderness trips, it'll be different. Like I'll probably just continue doing those solo until River can join us on those sort of trips. But Catherine is missing it, man. End of story. And I think like this summer, she'll definitely be coming out fishing again, because like last summer she didn't really get to join me on any of the trips just because she was heavily pregnant. River was born at the end of January. So Catherine couldn't, she's normally loves catching kingies just like I do, man. So she missed out on all those trips. But I mean, it's a big picture thing. You got to look at what we were going through there, which is a pretty special thing, bringing a child into the world. But there'll be time. And I mean, this summer coming up, Catherine and I are planning to do like a third YouTube channel. This is probably the first time I've ever publicly talked about it, but it's just going to be like a family sort of orientated channel.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be for hardcore fishing or hardcore hunting. It's just going to be like, we love doing this sort of stuff and we want to raise our daughter in this environment. So we're going to document the journey, like the good, the bad. We'll go and camp on some place and, live off the land, catching fish and doing all the stuff we do. But we've got the small child with us and we're just going to document it. So it'll be kind of like I don't know, man, we'll just see how it goes. Like, if it works, it works. But if it doesn't, it's a fun family thing to do together, man. So,
yeah. Well, and I suppose it's a shared passion, right? Like you have the passion for obviously sharing the experience. Catherine enjoys the aspect of being out there and doing it, and then without a doubt, I'm pretty sure River's gonna be exactly the same. She's got both of your DNA, so it's relatable, right? Because I think a lot of us, this is something I learned when I became a parent, and it was something mentioned to me by a teammate of mine and his partner at the time, because they had a little girl, and they just said, "Oh, well, the child actually knows no different. Like they know what you teach and what you install, and if that's what your life is like, then bring them along on the journey with you." And that was kind of something that we did with the boys. And like both the boys they love the outdoors, they love hunting, they love fishing, and I was the same. And I can only assume it was because it was what Dad did, and we got dragged along, and I'm sure, and it's real relatable, because I think a lot of us, like, we have children and then we think, oh, okay, like all that goes on hold, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Like, and if you do it in the right manner and you're doing it, still conscious of obviously the child's, you're not going to take River out when it's a bloody 3 meter swell and try and land her on the rocks. If it's like a safe, controlled environment, then she's going to have a awesome time doing it with you both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly, man. And I think like, it's just, we want to raise our daughter doing what we love, so we're just gonna keep doing it, man. Why, we shouldn't stop living our lives. We should just include her into our lives. So we'll start a new YouTube channel. It'll be like a family thing. Don't even know what we'll call it yet, but it's gonna be like pretty low key to start and just see how it evolves and goes from there. And at the end of it, 20 years time, we're going to have some pretty cool family adventures documented, if that's all we get out of it,
That's
but
cool.
You never know, man. It might end up being the biggest YouTube channel of all.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure like a lot of people will be able to relate to it, because there's there's a lot of people that are heavily passionate about the outdoors, and I'm sure there's so many couples that are like that together, you know, in terms of like getting out there and doing it. And if they can sort of see it and you know, I guess see all how your dynamic of it works, then it'll give them confidence to give it a go. So I'm sure it'll go well, and it'll be relatable to a lot of people.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled, man.
Yeah.
We'll start doing some missions this summer. I'd say, no doubt.
Hopefully we have a better summer this year.
I reckon we probably will.
I think we will.
Going by the weather pattern change.
Yeah.
Because we've got the new change.
That's right.
Yeah, new system rolling through. So it'll be, I reckon it's going to be good. It's going to change the fishing up quite a bit for the last few seasons. Well, my style of fishing anyway, the kingies. I don't know what it'll be like for your marlin, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be a whole lot different this year than it has been. It'll be pretty cool.
What sort of have you noticed in terms of the change with the kingies, with the weather patterns and stuff that we've had?
So yeah, it's been a big change.
Yeah.
We tend to get a run of fish early, like a big run of fish early.
Yeah.
Like real early.
Yeah.
And then
what's early? Like
like October.
Yeah.
Like
November.
springtime.
Yeah.
Well, not even.
Is that like up? Like, because you fish, for those people that don't know, like Joe fishes off the rocks and like fishes our coastlines.
Yeah, pretty much. Most of my fishing's
yeah.
from Coromandel to the top.
Yeah.
On the east coast and the west coast.
Yeah.
So I think like we've definitely found that there's been a run of fish early, and like especially down East Cape Way, like huge congregations of fish early.
Yeah.
And I think like for me historically, through November is normally the switch flicking moment for my areas. It's like I can fish day after day after day and not see a fish, and then all of a sudden the next day there's fish everywhere.
Oh yeah,
it's just like overnight a light switch is flicked and the fish are moving through doing their patterns. But I haven't seen that, man, for like 2 years, and we've had that. What is it? What have we just come out of? La Nina or El Nino?
Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah, so we've had that weather pattern for the last 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, and I've
which brought a lot of like high winds, eh?
Yeah, but I think like warmer water earlier.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the fish come early, and then through the peak of the season, which would normally be the peak, like that mid-November through December, when I'm normally finding a lot of big fish, I'm finding nothing.
Yeah.
You know? But October, there's been a big run of fish already go through. So it's kind of like there's been a huge like mix up through the season. Like a lot of my mates up there and stuff have, you know, just everyone's struggling, man, compared to normal, you know. So my thoughts is we've got the new system rolling through, like the new weather pattern. It will be real interesting to see if it goes back to how it used to be, how I'm used to it being, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which will be like November. I'll be getting a lot of big fish in November, and then December onwards, a lot of smaller fish start moving through and stuff like that. But I mean, like the last 2 years, November, I'm struggling to catch fish. And normally by the end of November, I'd have like 20 or 30 good kingies already landed off the rocks. But the last 2 years, it's like I could probably count them on one hand.
Yeah.
You know, good ones. So I don't know, man. It'd be interesting to see. But me and the boys are like, we're pretty excited about what the opportunities.
Yeah, the possibilities, eh? And I think that's the lure of fishing. It's like, oh, what's it going to be like?
So I think like I'm heading home now, and probably going to do a bit of winter fishing, try to get some of those real big winter kings that come through.
The big ones, like I suppose they got that good body condition to handle the cooler temperatures and stuff. Is that what generally when you get the real big ones? Yeah, it's a good
Not
time.
as
many fish.
Coming into like winter, especially coming into September, is normally a time where a lot of big fish are around. But, well, I shouldn't say a lot of big fish. It's
but
like
chance of a big one's good.
You might do many days and not see a fish, but then you finally see one and it's like big.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. This is the first time I've been back for the winter, so I'm gonna get back into those spots I used to fish and hopefully find a few of those big winter fish, which would be pretty cool. And then heading over to Oz, and then November onwards, I'll be starting to flare up for the kings here. Well, I'll probably start fishing in September, October, but I reckon November onwards should get really good fishing for my style of fishing.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember when I Well, like I've done minimal kind of like stick baiting and top water stuff. But when I first got into it, they always used to have a tournament that a good mate of mine used to do every year out at Mare Island. He lives at Waihi Beach there, guy Tim. And they used to go out there, and it used to be top water season, like it was on. Like, and I'm not sure what it was to do with that time of year, but he said like November was the time when if you want to catch big kingfish on a stick bait, that's when they used to do it, and that's when they used to have the comp. But then for the last few years, he said the same thing. Like, it hasn't been like that, and there's not many fish around, and the big ones didn't seem to be there, and
it's almost like they bypassed us, and carried on further down the country. It's kind of the impression we got. We didn't get that big sort of migration or that huge numbers of fish hard on the coast through that springtime, early summer, like we normally have. So next time we have a chat, next podcast we do, I'll probably have a little bit of knowledge of what's happened. Hopefully it works out good. Man.
Well, I'm always up that way, sort of, early Jan. We always go camping for a couple of weeks up there, so we should actually, just like you say that you don't stop it on your way past here, I've also done the same thing during the game fishing season. I've been up in the far north a few times and haven't stopped in, so need to return the favour, eh?
That's right, man. We've been talking about doing a marlin together. I was like, I don't know, I love and respect marlin, but I don't know if I could. I'd want to catch one on top water, man. That would get me going. If we did a mission dedicated to try and get one on top water, I'd be all over it.
I reckon. If we get the fish stack up like they do, like this year, Hokianga, there was some fish there, and 2 years ago when I fished Hokianga was the same. That sort of early January kind of period. There's high chances of seeing like multiple fish in a day. That's and generally lots of fish numbers, so that would be the time to try and do it. There's definitely a way to put the odds in the favours, like use the boat to raise the fish, and then you can stand there and cast your stick bait, and then I'll watch you suffer for a while. I could, you couldn't give me a stick bait rod to fight a marlin with. I've talked to Brownie about that because he's done it at the Wanganellas, and it doesn't look like much fun. But again, you're seasoned on it. Like, you spend a lot of time with that rod. I'm sure you would fare a lot better than someone like myself would. I just drive the boat normally. I don't even wind them in. I can't remember the last time I wound a marlin in, actually.
Oh, yeah. You're probably due to catch one this year. I remember Brownie was telling me about that stick bait marlin, and it sounds like there's a lot of leverage when you're in a boat. Like, even catching the kings out of the boat, I'd way prefer getting them off the rocks. Yeah. It's probably a bit more technical because you got to run around and,
but I suppose the height of the rod and they're not pulling straight down. Yeah. Like if they're pulling out, so the length of the rod would be a lot better. Yeah. I think it was Hamish Beattie I spoke to from NACL Lures, and he talked about that. He was like, man, when you like the long rod on the rocks is way better because it gives you a better angle leverage, but when you're in a boat, because everything's straight up and down, like that's when it's real awkward. Yeah. Yeah, which makes sense.
Pressure on your lower back and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'll be crying, man, on a marlin probably if it's just, especially if it dives deep and just sits there. Yeah. But in saying that, like there's a lot of things you can do with the boat to create angle and that kind of stuff. So the one thing that marlin fishing, or like, people talk about with marlin fishing, is a good skipper can make up for a shit angler, but a shit skipper can never make up, or a good angler can never make up for a shit skipper. Right. So it's a lot of how you maneuver the boat, and like, Brownie will tell you the same thing. Like so much of it's about how you drive and where you put the boat and the angles you pull on the fish to, like marlin, like yes, they will go down, but they don't like when you pull on different angles. So it's creating leverage and how you use the boat to do that, and rather than just sitting there trying to muscle the fish up, it's about how you pull and change the angle by using the boat, and then to pull them up higher, and then use the boat to get in close to them. And I'm keen to give it a crack if you are. Yeah, I'm keen.
Yeah. It'll be good fun trying anyway.
We should if we do it, man, we should do a podcast on the boat while it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Especially if we've had a couple of days and had a bit of success. Something that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Talk about the moment.
Yeah, well, we might as well, actually, we'll carry on that vein of conversation, but you've also started your own podcast, which is pretty cool, and 4 episodes, a lot are out now at the moment.
4 have been published. Yeah.
Published, yeah. Yeah, so do you want to talk about, because we spoke about this when you came and did the podcast 3 years ago, and obviously you've had a lot of, I guess, your followers and people that are connected to you through your YouTube channel sort of talk to you about, putting that kind of content out, and now you're doing it, and how have you kind of found that?
Yeah, I think we talked about it early on, and bounced the idea back, which was, it's pretty cool, and just the people that enjoy my content have just been, a lot of people have been hounding me for it, because podcasts are they're cool, they're casual, and I sort of relate, and I speak about my ones like this as being the book version of my YouTube videos. In a YouTube video, I normally do 10 hunting episodes a year, and in each one of those episodes you can only fit so much content in, man. If I'm in the mountains for 10 days or whatever it is, there's a lot of content, but it's just trying to compress it down into a good video that still carries the correct storyline and all that sort of stuff. Is you end up leaving a lot of stuff out. So me and you speaking about it early on, and a lot of people reaching out to me and just wanting more content to absorb pretty much, and why not do a podcast, man?
Yeah.
So it's I finally did it, man. This year is the first year that I've been doing it, and it's based around my adventures. So far, I think I've recorded 7 or 8 of them.
Yep.
And they're all based around hunts that I've done since March. So I've done probably 40 something days hunting, maybe more. I don't know. I haven't quite tallied it up, but it's a fair bit of hunting. And while I'm in the mountains, I'm day number 3 of a trip, I'll record a podcast talking about what's happened up to that point. So it'll be recapping, all the details up until that point. So it's pretty raw, man. I'm normally in my tent. You can hear the wind, you can hear the rain, and you're still in the environment, and I'm talking about what's literally just happened. So it's pretty fresh, pretty cool stuff. And
we can hear the emotion in it too, right? The ones that I've listened to, documenting the big stag hunt, and then I messaged you too about, you talk about the book version. I'll just digress a little bit, but you talk about the book version. I said, man, have you got any footage of the journey to get to that stag? When the river levels and that come up, and you're nah, it's just too gnarly.
Yeah.
It was a really dodgy situation, and to try and document and film that will be in a dangerous situation. But for you to be able to recap it and tell the story in a podcast form, and you articulated it really well, then it's that's that extra bit of content that the video can't tell.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the book version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that moment you're talking about, the recovery, I knew I battled with myself about filming parts of that, because it was intense, man.
Yeah.
It was intense. And I thought, I ended up not filming it. And I thought, no, this is I need to be really focusing on what I'm doing. Otherwise I'll get myself into, all sorts of trouble. So, but I do wish I did film something, because it's freaking cool.
Yeah.
So for you guys that are listening, you might not have seen the video, but on my YouTube channel, the first 2 episodes of my new season this year are based on this hunt that we're talking about. And it's a raw hunt, so it's a red stag hunt on the west coast in a wilderness block area, so designated wilderness, which means it's it's sort of how do I explain it?
Does that mean you can't fly in there at certain times of the year? Is that
so
how it kind of works?
The definition of a wilderness area is it's kept to its original state. So there's no roads, there's no landing, there's no mechanical access and things like that. But every year they open up in these ballot systems, they open up 4 opportunities to fly in there with a helicopter. And where I'm going is pretty. It's a wild place. You can get in there on foot, but it's it's sort of it's a bit of a challenge. It's a big challenge. But 4 times a year they open up a a landing situation where you can take a helicopter in there, which is pretty cool. And I was lucky enough to get this block. I had it all to myself in basically the peak of the roar, so the peak of the rut for the red stags. And yeah, man, I flew in there and just got some real gnarly weather straight away. I was sort of tent bound. Woke up in the morning, looked out of my tent. There's a stag across the river, which is epic. And then and I'll recap it right now, but I'll keep it like short because you guys can actually see this on YouTube. It's up there right now. But I basically left my base camp, which was on a clearing where the helicopter dropped me off, and I hiked up the valley through some really tough terrain. And you have to have your wits about you when you're going through this stuff. There's like it's really undulating terrain. It's in the thick jungle. It's on the river edge, but it's steep sides. There's huge boulders like bigger than houses. There's holes, big crevasses. There's moss on the ground, so it looks like you can walk over there, but what you don't know is there's a big cavern underneath the moss, so you can fall through.
Yeah.
And some of these crevasses, you can't see the bottom. Yeah. You do not want to fall in them, especially when you're by yourself. And if I'd fallen in one of those and knocked myself out or something, and could have got real bad. So you got to be really careful with this, like getting through all this country. So it took me a long time to get through, and I sort of had a place in mind where I wanted to camp.
How long is from that? This is what I did want to ask you. How long does it take you to get from like point A to point B from those two camps?
So I think it took me like 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
But
and what's the kind of total distance?
Distance is 2.5 kilometers.
Oh, okay. So that explains it. Well,
yeah. It's not far. Like it's not far at all. But it's just it's like a puzzle. It's literally like a maze, man.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I got through it all. It was fine. Takes it out of you though. And then I ended up getting to a little area that I'd previously scouted out, and I'd actually previously camped on this area. So I set up my tent there, and I'm like in amongst the action. Like there's the little pad that I put my tent on was a stag's pad. So the tree next to my tent had been ripped up by a stag, only days before, and you're right in the action, And yeah, man, I sort of hunted the valley upstream from that camp over the space of, it might have been like 4 days or something, and I just really took my time at hunting it. You could have hunted all that area that I ended up hunting. You could have done it in a day, but the smart thing to do was to just slowly increase my distance from camp and slowly just uncover new areas, just so that I
leave it undisturbed.
Just so I don't just hunt it out too quick. I really wanted to give it, the right opportunity to provide the right opportunities for me. So yeah, had some amazing encounters, roaring stags up close. I mean, you've seen the video footage, Sweens.
It's mean.
Yeah, so it was freaking cool. And one of not the first stag I saw, but one of those stags that I filmed was a big stag too. For like a public land, wild free range stag. It was a good stag, especially for that area. It was a real nice stag for that area. So
that's the one that was on the dry creek bed, eh?
And he crossed over, and I got into like 40 yards from him, and he's just roaring, and he didn't know I was there, and I just filmed him for like, I don't know, ages. Yeah. It was epic. And then he just slowly walked his way off, undisturbed, the perfect situation. But that like encounters like that are amazing, man. That's why you go into these places. It's just those real proper raw encounters. So I got some cool footage there, like filmed a few stags, and the end goal was, for this trip, I was looking for something that got me excited. Like if I was going to shoot something, it was going to be something that I really, there was no hesitation, and that's the stag I want to try and get, kind of thing, But the stag we're just talking about, like it got me on the level where I was like, oh, far out, this is a pretty good opportunity. That's quite a good stag. But then I was like, it's not really.
Did it make your heart flutter?
Nah, it's not like, it's not really what I had in mind, like to come all this way for, I mean, I probably would have been happy with it, but I probably would have been left feeling like, did I make a mistake? What would have been around the next corner, kind of thing. It wasn't the one.
And I suppose he's in the first part of the area too that you're hunting as well, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, it wasn't the stag that instantly made me think that's the one,
Yeah.
So long story short, had many more cool encounters, and then eventually I can hear a stag roaring up the valley, and it's just like echoing through the valley. One evening, I never got to see him, he sounded dominant. He was in a location that is basically quite a hot spot. Like whatever stag is controlling this particular location, it's going to be something that's dominant. You know that it's going to be something that's worth looking at, basically. So I remember the next morning after hearing him that night, I got up real early, well in the dark, and I just hunted my way all the way up to sort of where I expected to potentially see him. And this is the furthest I've been on this trip so far. And as I was getting closer, I could hear him roaring, like going wow. And across the river, there was another stag roaring. They were roaring at each other. And it was just echoing, like it's the dream scenario, echoing through the valley all around you. You're just like enveloped with all the stags roaring. It's what you dream of when you plan a raw hunt sort of thing. So I eventually became light enough, and I managed to like sneak into a position where I could look over this big grass clearing, this big meadow that was surrounded by the forest, and that's where he was. He was in there somewhere. It took me a while to actually spot him because he was sort of like in amongst cover and this and that, but I got a glimpse of him like chasing a hind, and all I could see was his antlers, like where he was. I couldn't see his body because he was like a bit of a hump in the ground, and I could just see his antlers like running and chasing this hind around, roaring and all sorts. And I was like, man, that's a big stag. Instantly I was like, that's the stag. I would happily spend the rest of my time in these mountains trying to get that stag.
Yeah.
So I instantly knew that's the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted to try and focus on. So that morning, as he was sort of chasing a hind around, I ended up like trying to get in on him, trying to set up on him and get a good vantage point to actually look at him and set up the rifle and stuff. But I did get into a spot that was really good. His hinds were feeding around the edge of the clearing, but at this point he was pushing them into the bush.
Oh, yeah.
So like I could tell that he was pushing them into the bush. It was still real early, which was weird. Like normally they'd be still out feeding, another hour, but he was obviously trying to get them into the bush early. And this was sort of going on in front of me, and I hadn't seen him yet. I hadn't seen him. I could see his hinds, and all of a sudden you'd see the hind like run to the bush, so he knew that he was coming, but he just wouldn't show himself for ages. And then eventually here he comes like walking out this creek, and then he sort of like herds his hinds, pushes them up. But I got the first like proper glimpse of him and his body, and like just the whole stag, and good stag, man. Like I was like, far out, that's a good stag. For the stag I'm looking for, that's a nice stag. It got me excited, man. Got me real excited. So as it was, if I wasn't filming and I wasn't trying to create a video for you, like all my audience out there to watch and enjoy with me, I could have taken a shot from where I was.
Yeah.
But to get the cameras all ready, and then to get in a position where I could shoot them safely and all that sort of stuff, I didn't want to risk it because I thought, what I had to do was basically going to be touch and go of him seeing me. So I decided not to set up for the shot in the end. And he went up into the bush, and I could hear him roaring his way up into the bush undisturbed, So I thought, all right, he's going to be back tonight because his females, his hinds are going to come back out of the bush tonight onto their clearing. He's going to be with them. He will definitely come out. Even if it's just before dark, he'll come out. So I thought, that's my plan. So, I went back to camp. I ended up, having lunch, having a sleep in the sun, just like waiting for that evening. And it was like that, man. I was like looking at my watch like every 5 minutes, like, is it time? And I set like a mental note. It had to be 4 p.m. before I even started walking. Yeah. Because I knew if I had gone any earlier, the thermals that are running up the valley, the wind movement, the katabatic winds, on the heat of the day, the wind sucks uphill. So a mountain valley, it's sloped downhill. So say the middle of the day, you've got your hottest temperatures. So generally the wind in that environment is sucking up the valley. So the stag was up the valley from me. So if I'd gone too early, my wind would have traveled up the valley in these winds, and he would have smelt me, and I would have seen him again. So I knew from where my camp is to him, it's like 800 meters to a kilometer, maybe a bit more. I can't quite remember, but it's a fair way. So I knew I was safe way back there. But at 4 p.m., when the air temperature's cooling, the thermal switch and the wind start flowing downhill, because all that hot air that's been rising through the day, it cools to a point and now it all rushes downhill. So you get the wind running down the mountains, which essentially brings it down this mountain valley, and it will be in my face. So 4 p.m. is normally about when it switches. So I waited till 4 p.m. and eventually the wind finally switched. So I end up sneaking up in there, and that morning I'd like scouted out a little spot where I could really I could film, and I could set the rifle up, and everything would be secured from him or any of his females seeing me, because I knew if I got spotted, it would be the end of it. I'm only going to have one chance at the stag, basically. And if I don't get it right, I may as well forget about him, So I had this really good hide, and it was basically a patch of bush on the edge of this clearing with a hollow center. And I could set up in there with the cameras and the rifle and not be seen from the outside, but I could see out really good, but they couldn't see me in there. So that was my plan. So that evening I made my way to that and then set up in there. And then, I was waiting there for quite a while. I wasn't expecting them to show up until like later, just before dark or something. And then eventually, long story short, I hear this roar. And there's a roar in the bush edge, another roar closer, and I could hear that they were starting to come out. So his females were coming out to start feeding, and he has to go out and protect them and make sure no other stags try to steal them and all that stuff. So, this is what I want. This is what I've been waiting for. Now I just gotta hope that I see them before they see me or anything like that happens. And man, you'll see on the video when you guys, if you guys go and watch it, you'll see that all of a sudden here he is. He just pops out. I got the camera on him basically straight away too, as he just walked down to this little opening, and then he chased the hind around, and then he ended up coming right out, standing out in the open, and he did a big roar. And at that point, I had the rifle set up and took the shot. So the big old stag, man. Ended up going up there, and it was like getting dark at this point, and I really wanted to get good photos, and I filmed a bit of video to finish the episode, but I wanted to get some cool photos and pack out the meat properly and do all that stuff. But we ran out of daylight, so went back to camp, and this is what Sweens was talking about before. So what I didn't realize is that we had this big front come through and a lot of rain, and the river levels just rose, and I had to cross a small stream and to get to him, and that stream was like touch and go. So I didn't manage to get to my stag the next day, which I was gutted about, because the longer I left it, the worse off the meat was going to be and all that sort of stuff. But it just wasn't safe to approach him. So, in hindsight, I made a pretty big mistake, actually. I wanted some photos, but then if I was to make the best of the situation, I would have just forfeited the photos and got them out that night, and it would have been done. But as it was, I had to wait 2 days before I could get back in there, and the weather was pretty wild. But we got there, man, and it's the hunt of my life. Out of all the hunts I've done, that one there would be at the top of my list for experiences. Just being in that environment solo and having those encounters and having the opportunity to take a stag, or have a chance at a stag like that, it may never happen again. So I was feeling pretty blessed on that hunt, man.
Yeah, that's amazing to have the strength and the patience to, in that moment, not pull the trigger in the morning. Like you could have shot him there and then, but knowing that you're not documenting the story how you wish to portray it, and not being able to capture and get set up properly and risk, spooking the stag or him seeing you or whatever it may be. Like, it takes a lot of discipline to be able to do that, and I guess I suppose it's the years of your experience with hunting to understand that, if you're patient here, I'll get another opportunity. Yeah,
exactly. I think my goal is to create a cool story for people to follow along. So if I can't get it on video, or it's going to be touch and go for video, in my opinion, there's no point in shooting it. I don't want to just go and shoot a stag for my own success and all that. I love it, but I want to also bring the viewer along, and that's a big part of why I'm there. So if it's not going to work out for the video, then it's not going to work out for the hunt. So a lot of things need to line up for me to pull the trigger. And that was just a cool story. Like it just wasn't easy, man. It didn't come easy. And like when you go onto my YouTube channel, J.E.Wilds hunting, it'll be one of the most recent videos. Potentially, don't know when this podcast will come out, but you'll find it on there.
Yeah, it will be as podcasts come out next week probably.
There's two parts to it. There's a first part and the second part. You need to watch both of them in order. So make sure you do that. And you'll see, like, the morning when I actually see him, when I get set up and I don't take the shot, you'll probably be wondering, like, why didn't I take the shot? But listening to this podcast, you'll know that, like, it all didn't line up to make a good video. So, and that, as it was that evening, was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose, and like we talked about in terms of documenting and having the podcast, there's a like another platform to be able to share that, I guess, that journey, because obviously it wasn't safe for you to film to document the process of trying to get and recover that stag with the higher river levels. Like it's even that, like, awareness, like in that moment, like there's obviously a hell of a lot that goes into producing what you produce. And I think some of us it's like anything. If you watch someone that does something really well, it looks really easy. You know, it's like if you watch a good athlete play rugby, it looks, watch Dan Carter play, looks like it's a piece of piss to him. But you don't necessarily know the journey for someone to get to that point, to have the skills to be able to execute like that. And it's the same with you with the filming. Like there's a lot of obviously time and effort that's gone in so that you can make things line up and you can do it. Like, because it's not, like you said, like even that journey, listening to the podcast and hearing you document that further in terms of working your way up the valley, and you've been able to do it here again now. Like it's real, it's actual danger. Like
I think, like, to put it into perspective, guys, like if something were to happen to me, like if I tried to recover that stag and did cross the river or got stuck in the river or something like that, it's not a big river. It's 10 meters wide, this particular side stream that runs into a main river. But it's a dangerous place. Like if something had happened to me in there, it potentially could have been the end of me. It's wild country. Like no one's going to turn up. The helicopter will come and pick me up at the end of my time in there, and I won't be there. He'll be like, "Where the heck's Joe?"
Yeah.
Search and rescue would have to spend a week looking for me or whatever. Yeah. They may never find me if I was in the river. I could be in the ocean, So a lot can happen in those situations, and it's a dangerous place. It's a wild place. It's not like the back of someone's farm. This is pure wilderness, mountains and stuff. So, yeah, you do have to be real careful, especially when you're by yourself, man. And I mean, like, to expand on so when the rivers were coming up, I could see that the rivers were coming up. I got an update of the forecast, and they had changed it to my previous forecast. So I thought I was going to have good weather. And that's, a big part of why I thought, okay, I'll pick up the stag tomorrow. I'll come back, get some photos, pick them, recover them then. But what I didn't realize is the forecast had changed. And that night I should have got a forecast update. But I thought, the last one I got was a couple of days prior. I thought, it's probably still the same. But what I didn't realize is that forecast had changed, and it was like 100 mils of rain or something. And when you're in those catchments, the rivers come up real quick. So I actually, in the morning, I got up real early and it was raining, and I thought, crap, this is not good. So I quickly got out to the small side stream, which I needed to cross, the 10-meter one. And it was crossable. Like it was just a little bit higher than what it normally would be. It was definitely crossable, but I knew that, we were due to get 100 mils from my latest update on the forecast, 100 mils of rain. And I'd probably only had like 10 mils of that already, So I knew that over the next few hours, things were going to look a whole lot different. And if I had crossed that small side stream in that moment, I would have got across fine. I would have done my photos. I would have done all the meat and started to carry back, But I would have been stuck there, man. And I would have been stuck on this little island of grass and bush. And I would have been stuck there all night because the river levels wouldn't have come down in time. And to be stuck out overnight with just what you've got. Like I've got survival blankets and things like that, but in a rainstorm, in a place like that, that's the last thing I would want to be doing. Sitting overnight in there, like you never know what could have happened.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the importance of being able to make smart decisions under pressure, eh? Like we talk about that a lot in professional sport and rugby, and the people that are better athletes or play at that higher level, that's what they can do. They can mitigate factors, they can understand, and when pressure's on, they can still be clear-headed and make a good decision. And because obviously for you, there's pressure because you're trying to tell a story, but then there's the real risk of like, shit, I could possibly not get back to that stag because anything could have happened weather-wise, and you could panic and go, fuck, I need to do it now. Otherwise, if this river just keeps coming and then I'm never going to get to it, let's just have a crack. And then that's when you end up in trouble, when you don't make calculated decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And like I will admit, it crossed my mind. I should just have a crack, but I really thought about it. I thought, if I do that, it could go bad. And if I had done it, I would have stayed there all night. I would not have been able to get back across because that river came up so quickly, and in the space of an hour or so, I would have been at the stag for 2 hours maybe. Yep. And in that time frame, the river would have tripled in height, and it would have been uncrossable, and I would have been stuck there, man, for who knows how long. So yeah, it's just one of those moments. But I guess that's the sort of thing. Like if I could document that as well, that would have been a pretty cool add-on to the video. But I guess where we're going with this is that in the podcast I do talk about that. Yeah. So that's like the book version. You're hearing more detail. But yeah, cool hunt, man. That was a cool hunt. That was the first hunt for the year too.
Yeah. What a way to kick it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I think with what you've done with the show, and then I think like the Doolies as well and what they do with NZ Hunted, like you've educated a lot of people too on stags and stuff like that, and around what a true trophy is. Like I guess growing up, like hunting for me, it was always just like 12-pointer or whatever, like it's all about points. But then the way you explain and articulate it, obviously you've been a guide, so you know how to age stags well and all the rest of it. And then when you actually, the way that you articulate it and put it into context, it makes makes myself as a hunter understand that, it's a little bit like fishing. It's not always about, like how pretty something is or how big something is in terms of, and we talk about stags, talk about antlers and points and all the rest of it, but it's about the character and the age of the animal and maybe where it was shot, and that's the trophy, the journey, and maybe what that's, the fact of that stag's lived in the wilderness, like back there for such a long period of time. That's a real trophy in every sense, because of that opportunity is probably never ever presented on that stag for anyone else ever.
Yeah, exactly, man. And so personally, I wouldn't call myself a trophy hunter at all.
Yep.
So for me, there's many factors that get me excited about a hunt, and it's like the journey of the hunt, the location, the storyline of the hunt.
Yep.
I do get excited about a big animal, like big antlers and all that stuff, but that doesn't govern what the hunt means to me, If anything, it has to do with age. Like I could see a giant 4-year-old stag that's absolutely huge, and is standing next to it. It's like an 8, 9, 10-year-old stag that's half the size. I would look at that older stag and be like, that's the stag I want. And that's just how I am. So, yeah, for factors that make me excited about a hunt, it's the journey, it's the places it takes you, it's the storyline to it. And for me, it's like, I don't hang antlers up on my wall, but the trophy for me is the video and the content I produce from it. And then the age of the animal, like the older the animal, that's going to get me excited, man. So, yeah, I think like that's sort of how I personally roll on it. Yeah, like this year I've seen some amazing stags, some really good stags that have been just, up and comers. A couple of years and they'll be unbelievable sort of thing. So just, yeah, age, man. If I have to break an animal down to, what gets me excited, it's always those older animals that gets me pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I suppose that hunt that we're talking about is a prime example, because that first one you saw was an 11
Yeah.
pointer. So if you go purely off points, and then the one you shot was 9, am I
10, yeah.
10 pointer, yeah. So if it was purely off points, the other one's got 1 extra point.
Yeah.
So like some people look there and go, oh, but that was an 11, that's only a 10, but it's it's all about the context of what you're looking at.
Exactly, yeah. And you look at like...
And what you're looking for as a hunter, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you guys look at the video, you'll see the body difference, you'll see the demeanor difference. You see, the antlers they're less points, but they're like a more mature look to them. There's lots of factors though, but yeah, age, man, I think like a lot of stags get taken too young in my opinion, and it's pretty cool to have those old stags as your goal, I reckon, as your personal goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good, like like you talk about it there, but seeing the difference between those two stags, it's good now that there's people that document that. So for the untrained eye, like like a weekend hunter that maybe does a couple of trips a year, they've actually got a better understanding of what an older stag looks like, because you just naturally gravitate to the antlers. Like that's what your eyes are sort of drawn towards. But then when you if you want to be more conscious as a hunter, there's a lot more like education tools through what you've done and other people do with documenting it with the video and showing the difference between an older stag and a younger stag.
Yeah, it is pretty tricky. It's pretty tricky. Once you get the hang of it, it's fine. But yeah, there's a lot of subtle differences that you'll need to learn to pick out to show different ages. But I mean, like if you're hunting an animal, the older animals, they always are extremely difficult to hunt, and that brings it back to the journey. Like I love the journey, the hunt in it. It's not just an easy hunt, So if it's a challenging hunt, that's what that's what gets me pumped, man.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing too. I personally enjoy watching your episodes, and some of the episodes there isn't a kill. You know what I mean? It's because it's the journey, and I think as a hunter or someone that's into the outdoors and loves fishing, like even like fish, like catching a fish, like marlin as an example, or catching a triple as an example, like it's not necessarily the catch. It's all about the journey to that point. That makes it that much more special. And then obviously there's also the skill element to be able to finally pull it off is like a bonus too. But it's I don't remember shit all of the I guess the kind of end product of what was happening around that triple, but I remember the whole day like that. Like I can document everything that happened because I was just in tune with what I was doing, and then obviously that euphoric moment of success etches it into your brain, and you just remember, like where you were, what was kind of happening around you, and then like it kind of stays with you. Do you get that same kind of feeling when?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. You remember all the details.
Yeah.
I think like another thing too, man, like both you and I, it's pretty cool that we do document our trips and stuff. So you can always, I can relive that particular hunt we're talking about for forever. I can take anyone on that journey because I've documented it for everyone to see. So, and the feedback on that particular hunt's been amazing. It's probably, I think it's getting close to 1.5 million views on both those, the part 1 and part 2.
That's phenomenal, and we live in a country of 4 million people.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's still cranking too.
Yeah.
So that's it's cool, man. I love to be able to take people on those adventures that may not get the chance to do it or something. So yeah, to remember the whole experience in a whole rather than just pulling the trigger is a big thing, man.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's pretty cool too, because I guess I'm thinking about it from a selfish point of view in terms of I love the outdoors and I have the opportunity to do it, but then there's a whole nother side of it that there's people out there that'll never get that opportunity that would love to, I guess get it, and you got people from overseas like, all those American viewers, like they would probably love the chance to hunt in New Zealand but probably never will. So it's pretty cool for them to be able to, I guess, share that experience through your documentation as well, eh?
Yeah. That's the plan, man. Take people on the journey.
Yeah. Mean. What else haven't we sort of covered? A lot.
There's heaps, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time I saw you Was that the boat show, eh?
Yeah.
Boat show was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed the boat show this year. It was a little bit different for me. This time going, obviously, a little bit more involved in the industry, where I've always, like, I suppose in the past when I've just gone, you know, but this time knowing a lot of people that are, you know, sort of been associated with Daiwa and seeing yourself there and your presentations, it's not, you're like actually interacting with people on a different kind of level or experience than what it was like when you just go and take in what's sort of going around. And I was actually quite surprised at the number of people that sort of came up and were like, oh man, I enjoy the podcast, or oh man, you had a wicked season, it's cool to see, like, how do you do this, how do you do that? And I'm like, all of a sudden I'm standing there, I guess, trying to articulate and my kind of successes that I've been lucky enough to have with fishing, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually like, people asking me for advice, like, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, it's proven, man. It's proven. So no surprise, but yeah. So I think it's a good crew, man. Like, especially the Daiwa crew. Us all there is a cool atmosphere, eh? Daiwa had a cool booth there.
Yeah, they did.
A real nice looking booth, and yeah, it was awesome the amount of people that were coming through and just yarning to us all. You know, yourself, you know, Brownie, all the ambassadors come through at some point. So it was pretty cool. Yeah,
and then Catherine and River enjoy the days. How many days were you there? Were you there every day?
No, I was only there for, was it 2 or 3? I did
when did 2. I saw you the Friday, I think it was.
Yeah, maybe I just did 2, man. I did a topwater seminar Friday, and then I did 2 topwater seminars on Saturday.
Yep.
And outside of that, I was on the Daiwa booth, and Catherine was there with us, and we had baby River, and so she was on for the full Friday, she was on the booth, little baby.
Yeah.
And it was funny, like, all the burly fishermen are like all like getting all googly.
Yeah, all clucky.
Yeah, it was freaking crack up, man.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was cool. They enjoyed it. Yeah. And lots of people come and talk to Catherine too, like they'd obviously seen her on my fishing videos, and like, if you guys don't know Catherine, my partner, she's caught some big kingies, land-based big kingies, and you know, there's videos of her doing that. So she got a lot of people coming up to her and, like, you know, getting photos with her.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty cool. Yeah. You know, people were like stoked ass to see her like doing it, and it was a good time. I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed that. It was cool trip.
Yeah, the Daiwa crew are like, you know, the sort of, I guess, the ambassadors and the guys that work there. Like, there's kind of quite strong alignment through, especially with you know, like Mike with OTL, Mike and Rita, and then obviously as with like Jeff as well. Like, it's a really cool community to be a part of, and I'm stoked that I'm able to, I guess, meet and rub shoulders. We met each other obviously prior to me being involved with Daiwa, but, you know, guys like yourself, and then, you know, Brownie, and then Cupcake, like, the list goes on, you know.
Low cab,
and all the low cab boys, like, I met all them at Anglers Escape for the first time.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really cool community of people that really value fishing for more than just the catching.
Yeah.
Like, it's about, you know, I guess, like you with your hunting, like we've talked about it heaps, but it's about the journey and about the people that you meet and interact with, and you spoke about it with the guiding side of things. You know, you missed that part of, you know, interacting with the people. And for me, like, that's a big part of the fishing, is the interaction, you know, going fishing with a mate. Great way to catch up with somebody. Like, I talk about that all the time. Like, going marlin fishing, you're sitting most of the day, just staring at bloody 4 lures, trolling behind the boat, you know. So it's like, it's a really good time to connect and catch up. And I find, well, you know, hunting, you got to be quiet. So you've always got the tent, you know, in the evening, but sometimes you're naked and you don't necessarily get to catch up so much. But with the fishing, you can be kind of active and talking and really connecting with your mates and people.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's right. It's like, it's a whole different scene, eh? Marlin fishing to say stalking through the bush. Like, keep quiet, Sweens.
Yeah.
Stop asking me questions.
Yeah. Hey, bro, what? Do you reckon? There'll be a stag over there?
We're actually going to do a hunt next year. Is the plan, eh?
Yeah, I better get buddy training.
Yeah. We're going to try and do it.
Yeah.
For all you guys listening, we might try and do... Well, we've been talking about it long enough.
Yeah, we have, eh?
We spoke about it this morning.
Yeah.
Again, but yeah, we might try and do a South Island stag hunt or something, me and Sweens. And
yeah.
it'd be pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it'd be real cool. I've never actually hunted the South Island, so it's something I've wanted to do for years, and I've got a number of mates that have gone down and done it and stuff, and yeah, I don't know, I've just never kind of I suppose like opportunity, but not just that, but just never taken the leap and actually gone and done it either, you know. So yeah, I'd be pretty honoured to be able to tag along with someone that's done so much down there as well, you know.
I think we should just do it, man.
Yeah.
Do you want to just pause that for a second?
Yeah, bro. All right, we're back from a toilet break. When did you first start hunting the South Island? Talking about that, since I've never done it.
First time I hunted it would have been every year we used to take the dogs down.
Oh yeah.
Go on like pig hunting trips. I don't know when that would have been. It's a while ago now. I've just fallen in love with the place, man.
Yeah.
To be honest. So most of my hunting's done down there now.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, like just the vast landscapes and the wilderness that's on offer is can't really beat it, man.
No,
You'll know exactly what
yeah.
I mean when we go down.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty special to have, pretty blessed to have all the public land on offer. Yeah, I don't know when it was.
Yeah,
it's ages ago.
Yeah, too long to remember. That's a good sign.
Oh, I suppose it is. Yeah, yeah. Although, like, after being down there for so long at the moment, I'm pretty frothing to get back home.
Yeah. But you live in you get the best of both worlds. You live in the bloody far north, and then you spend 6 months of the year in the, I guess
doing the hunting.
Yeah. Down in the
I think it
south.
From a work point of view, or I shouldn't call it a work point of view, but from like a like my YouTube side of things, it is good because it keeps it like fresh. I think if I was to hunt 12 months of the year, I'd be the last thing I'd want to do is go hunting.
Yeah.
But I kind of find that like I do my hunting season and then film the episodes and do the YouTube stuff, and then by the time I've come to the end, it's like I'm ready to go home and I'm ready to start fishing and do some do a whole change of stuff. And then I'll do the fishing stuff, and then by 2/3 of the way through the fishing stuff, I'm like, man, I can't wait to go
for
hunting.
A stag to roll.
Yeah, so it's, from my perspective, it is probably quite good having
balance,
that change, rather than just doing the same thing for the whole year. Yeah.
Well, I think it's like anything, eh? Like you always talk about like having, like you hear it in all aspects of life. We always talk about having a balanced lifestyle, like whether it's the food that we eat or, catching up and socializing and partying with people. You can't do that like all year round because you need a balance to your life. It's the same with, like hunting, fishing, as someone that's into the outdoors, it's like that healthy balance of both. And yeah, it is a healthy thing to be passionate about too, though. Yeah, it is.
Filling the freezer with fish and wild meat. Can't go wrong with that, man.
Nah.
Remind me before I go, I've got in the chili bin, I've got some tar salami and tar beer sticks, that we got made up from.
I've never eaten tar before.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like these salamis are amazing.
Yeah.
So remind me, I'll give you a pack of each. You guys can try them.
Thank you.
So we got
the boys love salami too.
Yeah,
and beer sticks.
They've done really well. Because I normally get like the tar and the chamois and stuff like that. I normally get it turned into like what would you call it? Like processed goods, like salamis and beer sticks and stuff like that. Because it's easy. Like for the hunting, I can throw a pack of beer sticks in my hunting pack, and I can do a day away from camp, and that's a good lunch,
Yeah, good source of like energy.
Yeah, so I really liked that, and we got this last batch done. It was actually so a mate of mine, Pedro, come over from Spain at the start of
I did want to
June.
talk about this. Like,
yeah.
Because I watch all of his videos and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, he does some cool stuff.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and then I was like, holy shit! Like he's here with Joe. I was like, it's my two favorite hunting channels like coming together in one.
Yeah, well, so Pedro and I, we've been talking about doing it for ages. It's just like, so he's from Europe, he's from Spain. It's a long, man.
Yeah.
Like, it took him, I forget how many hours. It's like 20-something hours to fly over. Like, a big mission. But we finally thought, let's just do it. Let's lock it in, let's do it. So, it was the 1st of June. He was landing in Queenstown. So I picked him up from the airport. And we had 16 days together. So we were doing just 16 days worth of hunting. And, the plan was to fly into the mountains of the West Coast, South Island, and look for sort of tar, chamois, or if we get a chance at a nice stag, we'll capitalize on that. But we flew in, and we had a pretty challenging first part of the hunt. Like, we flew into an area that, these videos, by the time the podcast comes out, these videos are probably still a long way from being public yet.
Yeah.
So, you guys listening,
Getting a little insight.
yeah, you're getting a little insight, because we haven't even published anything from this hunt apart from little Instagram stories and stuff.
Well, I don't even think I've seen anything from the hunt. I just seen you guys before going hunting.
Yep.
A few little stories on his Instagram and yours, like at the taxidermy place and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So the plan, like, the reason we haven't shared anything is because we had a prototype rifle with us.
Oh yeah.
And it's all top secret rifle. So the rifle needs to be released before we can post anything to do with it. So
okay.
So anything to do with the hunt is sort of on limbo until this rifle's ready to be released. So we haven't posted anything about it. Anyway, so that was pretty cool, man. Like, I had my rifle I had one of my rifles on the trip, but then we had the prototype, and that was like the goal, to try and do our hunting.
And this is
with
obviously
the prototype.
with Bagara.
Yep, Bagara prototype,
which is a Spanish brand. It is.
It is. But it's they've got an American branch as well.
Oh, cool.
So this rifle was actually designed between the two, but mainly it was more of an American design.
Yep.
I won't talk too much about the rifle itself, but it's pretty freaking cool.
That's cool.
When I first saw it, I was like, that's pretty tactical looking.
Yeah.
But I ended up actually really falling in love with it, man. It's a cool rifle.
Yeah.
All carbon fiber and stuff like that. It's very cool.
Yeah.
So we had this top secret rifle, and we couldn't really post anything about it yet. So you guys listening, like, you're going to hear the first sort of public knowledge about this hunt, this time.
Yeah.
So we flew into the mountains, and the first part where we went was a place I'd wanted to go for a long time. It's a remote area on the edge of another wilderness area, and just a place that I've always wanted to go to. And we finally sort of locked in to go there, and it's beautiful, man. Like, I think camp was 1,400 meters elevation, so fairly high up a mountain, and yeah, just as far as you can see, it's just amazing terrain, amazing territory. But pretty quickly, like, we weren't seeing many animals at all. Like, it was actually surprising. I thought, being so remote and stuff, we would be seeing a lot more animals. So we saw a good chamois the first night, which was quite cool. And then the next day we left camp, and we're sort of like up on this ridge, glassing this huge big mountain valley, and next thing you know, this helicopter turns up, and it's flying around trying to shoot a tar out of the helicopter. They must have had hunters on board, and they were trying to, instead of doing it on foot, they were flying around trying to get a tar.
Yeah.
So then we saw the tar that they were trying to get. So that's sort of like the first tar we'd seen in the area. And then the helicopter disappeared, and we didn't see anything else for that day, I don't think, just due to the place being all sort of racked up by the helicopter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was kind of like the way that the next few days went. It was just like nothing, and then helicopters were coming in, and it was just like, we saw animals, but we didn't see many, and it was actually starting to get like a little bit. We were both pretty gutted, especially for the place, like the area we're in. There should have been animals.
Yeah.
So I ended up organising a shift in the helicopter.
Yeah.
So we moved to another location that I'd been scouting out as a backup plan.
Yeah.
And we moved in there, and it's instantly, like, we're at a higher camp, so our camp's way up higher. We're in this way up in the tops, and in this big saddle. There's like, it's cold. There's snow, like knee deep snow everywhere. we're next to like an alpine lake, a small lake, and the lake was frozen over probably, I don't know, like 25 centimeters thick, I suppose, of ice on the top. So to get our water, we had to break through the ice and all that with our ice axes and stuff. It was a pretty cool experience, but straight away at camp, there's footprints walking through camp of where an animal would walk through, prior to us getting there. So we're feeling like refreshed and restarted, and like hoping that this is going to be good. So I think we'd done like 4 days at the last spot, so we still had a heap of days ahead, and now we're refreshed in a new area. And while we were setting up camp, we both had 2 tents, and we were filming, setting them up and stuff. And Pedro was actually. So Pedro's got a YouTube channel as well, guys. Pedro Ampuero Hunting. You can go and have a look at that. And he travels the world and does what I do, but I stick to New Zealand, and he travels the world and experiences like a variety of different hunts, which is very cool. Anyway, he was filming for his show, and he was like talking to the camera and stuff, and I'm in the background. I think he asked me something, and I'm like looking through my binos, and next thing you know, I see a bull tar. And mid like him trying to talk to me on his camera, I'm like, there's a bull up there. So we're like, our focus changes, and next thing you know, we're like looking at this bull tar up above camp. It was quite a way. It's like 600 and something meters at the top of a mountain above us, but we could see it from camp, So that was very cool. And then once we started really looking, there's actually a few of them up there.
Yeah.
So there's a few tar, and they obviously felt pretty safe up there, being where they were in the bluffs right up on the mountain. They could see, they knew we were down there. They weren't worried about us. So one of the bulls actually looked like quite a good bull, like a real nice bull. Old, big horns, just big mature body. All of them were shooters. They were all bulls that we would try to get, but one of them in particular got us excited. So yeah, we set up camp and then finished doing what we're doing, and then that evening we we went for a little look around, and we actually saw a few animals. So it's a surprising change. We saw some tar above us, and amazing location. Like when you guys see the video, it's breathtaking, man. Like it's an unreal place. And yeah, I think fast forwarding, we ended up getting, we saw a bull with the whole pile of nannies, bull tar, and we decided, Pedro was pretty keen to try and get it. Try and make a stalk on it. So we were just setting up to go and make a stalk on it. And as we were like packing up our packs to go and like make this stalk on this big bull, I looked above us, and there's a bull tar above us, man, 140 meters away, like right there, right in front of us.
Yeah.
I said to Pedro, I was like, bull, right there, don't move. He's looking down. And the bull kind of, we don't know if he'd seen us. We were sort of like blended into the rocks, but he probably could see something down there, but he didn't see us as humans or danger or anything. But he's just standing up on this rock, like looking down the valley, he was obviously coming down through all the bluffs to feed and stuff. And he was just checking out the surrounding areas below. And so I said to Pedro, don't move. Pedro was facing me, I was facing the animal, and I could just see the animal without having to move.
Yeah.
Pedro really wanted to like turn around and look at it. I was like, don't move, stay still. And eventually, he managed to get a look, and he's like, it was a good bull. His mane was blowing in the wind up there, and I said to Pedro, I managed to get my binos up without it seeing me, and I was like, it's a good bull. It's a mature bull. It's an old bull. If you're looking for like a trophy bull, as far as like, if he was after something that scored well, like big horn wise, it probably wouldn't be the sort of bull that would break any records. But if he's looking for an old, good bull, then man, that's it right there.
Yeah.
And Pedro instantly was already like putting his earplugs in. He'd already made this up. He was like, that's us, man. So yeah, long story short, we ended up setting up on it. We got it on footage, like awesome footage, man.
Yeah.
And he takes a shot, and this bull sort of goes out of sight, and we get up there, and it's an old bull, 14 and a half years old.
Wow.
And that's like, that's the oldest bull that I've ever been part of on a hunt.
Yep.
And it's like, you only hear of a couple that age every year.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible bull. Both horns are broomed off, which means they're the tips of the horns were like rounded off because they've been sanded off over the years.
Oh yeah.
So when I could see it through the binos, and I said it's no like big scoring bull.
Yeah.
It was just because the tips had been broomed off. But like, man, what a freaking trophy if you're looking for like an old bull, man.
Yeah.
It's an incredible bull. So that was we got it. Pedro's, I think his second ever bull. And it was like a bull of a lifetime, man.
Yeah.
14 and a half years old. Incredible cape to it. And that's that cape actually. So a bull tar, if you guys don't know what a bull tar is, just Google it right now.
Yeah,
Google bull tar and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. But it's the only other animal in the world that has an official mane, like a lion's mane. And they literally look like lions, like incredible looking beasts. So we skinned out the bull, we took all the meat and got back to camp and then, like, you know, fast forward a little bit, we actually, when we got out, a mate of mine, Zim, who owns NZ Taxidermy, we brought the skin out for him. And, you know, he just, because Pedro couldn't take the skin home, although the skin was, like, incredible.
Yeah.
You know, would have made an amazing, like, floor rug or something if you were going to keep it. We brought all the meat out, but anyway, we gave the skin to Zim at his taxidermy place, and instantly he's like, oh, my goodness, I'm keeping this for myself, and he's got a big mountain showroom that he shows off all his work
on your Instagram. Yeah,
incredible showroom, man.
Yeah.
And he's got a particular full body animal that he wanted to put a nice cape on and have it up there on display to show his work. And he said, I'm keeping this skin and it's going to go on my mountain. This is going to be this one I personally keep. So we're stoked, man. Like that, he sees hundreds and hundreds, and he said that's the best cape of a bull he's seen in a very long time. So good that he wanted to keep it for himself, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, because quite often with like taxidermy places, those capes, they can, like, obviously if someone shoots a nice bull tar and their cape is ruined or it's not that good, then they can like add like a cape like that onto it, right?
And that's what we thought. You know, we don't want to waste any of the animals, so we brought out the meat, the cape, the horns, everything. And the cape we were going to gift to him so he could put it in his freezer for that situation. Like, say, for example, you shot a bull and as you were skinning it, you cut it wrong or something. So all of a sudden you can't mount it if you were going to get it mounted. So Zim had a little supply of skins in his freezer to say, well, actually, I've got one. You can just, you know, we can put this skin on your sort of thing. So that was the plan. But anyway, Zim wanted to keep it for himself for the mountain showroom, which is like the best scenario.
It's awesome.
So, you know, it's going to be like a cool display once it's all finished, and it means a little bit to us as well. So, so that was Pedro's bull. You guys will see the videos at some point. It'll come out. And then I ended up getting a bull as well, which was a big bull as well. And it was 9 years old, I think. And it was, another amazing bull and an incredible hunt. Yeah. We brought out, the meat, and it goes back to what we were talking about before. I got it turned into salamis and beer sticks, and I got heaps of it, and it is so good, man. Yeah. You'll like it. Yeah. I got a mate who doesn't really like tar, like the smell of tar or taste of tar sausages or anything like that. But he's like, man, these salamis are the best he's had. So if it gets the approval from him, like it's good, man. And I just eat them nonstop. Like,
where do you get them processed down south? Do you have someone that you use in particular?
This batch was actually done through a butchery in Wanaka.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and they actually watch my show. So when I went in there, he's like, man, just keep up the videos. I love watching it. So he'll see the videos of the bulls and
awesome.
And they did a really good job on the salamis and stuff, man. So that was a cool hunt. I don't know when the videos will come out. I don't know if it's going to be the next lot, or I might have some more videos before that. I've done a few hunts since, you know.
Do you know if the rifle's far away from?
Yeah, they're talking end of July or August, so it's not far away. But that's
this episode will be out before then.
Yeah, that's sort of governing. Yeah, so I've got other episodes that I could just put in front of those ones. And then just do it that way. That way people can watch some videos. Yeah, it was a cool hunt though, man. Yeah, and it's just cool that me and Pedro finally managed to do it.
Is that the first time you have hunted together?
Yep. No, it is. Yeah.
Has he been to New Zealand? Many times before.
I think he did one trip about 8 years ago or 7 years ago or something. Yeah. And but this was sort of like, well, both Pedro and I, we share a lot of the same sponsors. Like, we both work with Leupold, we both work with Bagara. So there was like quite a good synergy there as far as like, like Leupold and Bagara both were like real stoked that we were going to be doing this trip together, because, you know, they'll get some cool content out of it at the end of the day from 2 of their ambassadors, and
Mm.
yeah, so it worked really well in that regard, and me and him had a cool time. So
Yeah.
I think the next mission we do together, Catherine and I will probably go over to Spain and do red stags or
awesome.
something. Yeah, he's invited us over to do that. So
Yeah, because he did that series Stag Culture, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like based around the roar of like all the and that. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching that, and it's really cool to see the traditional way of hunting in Europe. Like it's different, eh? Like,
in the different regions,
just the different regions and how they do it, and
Spain and Germany.
Spain and Germany, and
Yep.
yeah, no, it was pretty cool. It was real cool to watch.
Yeah, no, he's like me. Like stags get him going, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, he also really loves chamois,
oh yeah,
but yeah, stags are
chamois quite big in Spain, eh? Like, is it,
yeah, Europe. Yeah, there's a lot of good chamois hunting over there. That's where they're originally from.
Yeah, we've got a pretty diverse mix of animals here in New Zealand. We're pretty lucky.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, we're incredibly lucky with what we've got over here.
and obviously our climate and no predators helps.
Yep.
Them sort of thrive in our
The
environment.
environment. Yeah, there's actually a few other species that were tried, because all these game animals, guys, if you don't know, they were gifts from like royal family or presidents, like Teddy Roosevelt, who's a former USA president. He gifted us elk, he gifted us moose, but the moose didn't quite. They lasted for a number of years, but eventually they didn't hold. Apparently, we were also gifted stone sheep, which is a type of ram, bighorn ram. Not any, they don't look anything like our domestic sheep. But they're a pretty cool mountain animal.
Yeah.
What else? Mule deer. We were gifted mule deer. They didn't take either.
Yeah.
Axis deer. They didn't take. So the animals that we do have are animals that actually thrived and became a stable population. There's lots of stuff that if everything that was gifted to New Zealand back in the day by these notable people, if everything was gifted, man, we'd have like an incredible diversity of.
Yeah.
We already do.
Yeah.
But can you imagine what it would be like if we had moose walking around?
Have you done the Wapiti?
Yep. In Fiordland, yep.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get down there lately, though, in the last number of years while I've been doing the YouTube.
Yeah.
But it's just very difficult to draw a ballot.
Yeah.
I've been told by some people, I don't know how true this is, but because I do what I do, they're not drawing a ballot on purpose.
Oh,
I don't know how true that is,
Yeah,
but, that's pretty gutting if they're seeing my name come up and they're like, oh, no, we don't want them filming in there. Let's not give them one.
That's interesting because there's obviously, like, NZ Hunter, they film quite regularly in there.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
yeah.
So, anyway, I'm never
Red
lucky.
Stag, the Hunters Club, they've done a couple of episodes in there also, eh?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you'd think it would be, I find, it's pretty sad if that is the case because the more it's documented, the better it is for the environment, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%, man.
Yeah.
And I'm all for promoting, like, ethical hunting and to promote a good culture around it. So, that's information that I haven't heard directly from them. So it's probably someone's probably just making it up and telling me that. But when you apply, and
so you apply every year.
Yeah, I try to get one, but I just never get drawn. Because of that, it's like it makes you wonder.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure I'm just.
How many times have you hunted it?
I've only ever done one raw season.
Yeah.
But when I was working in the hunting industry, we'd do a lot of flights into Fiordland and stuff, like scenic flights, and we'd land in there and do all the things and at the places that you could land, helicopters, and so I've spent a bit of time in the area and some amazing area.
Yeah.
For quite a while now, I've been trying to. Well, I shouldn't say I've been trying to, but I've been meaning to do a bluefin down there.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, we've done a few bluefin trips, but
yeah,
I've been meaning to land base the bluefin down there, but the peak of the bluefin run is generally when the stags are starting to fire up. So it's kind of like I always get sidetracked on the stags roaring.
Yeah.
But I do want to, like, we do plan to do a bluefin. I do want to do a bluefin land base. Briggsy's keen to come over for that trip.
Cool.
So we might end up doing that.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fiordland bluefin, imagine that. Big one off the rocks.
It's pretty amazing, eh? Like, it's amazing the fishery and, like, what I guess people have got, like, better at fishing, more technology available, like a better understanding of the environment in terms of what's kind of opened up in terms of, like who would have ever thought you catch a bluefin tuna land-based, on top water in Fiordland.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The fishery's pretty cool down there, and the fishing and adventure guys did it, and hats off to them, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. They caught some nice kingfish too.
Yeah.
Really. Like,
there's a cool fishery down there now.
Yeah.
It's sort of like becoming pretty public.
Yeah.
It was all hush hush for ages, and I was never going to film it, but now it's like everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't be, giving away too much in locations and stuff, but I feel like it's a cool place to explore, and I do have the goal of getting a big one.
Yeah.
See, there's a couple of big ones caught in the North Island recently.
Yeah.
Big bluefin off the rocks.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. Makes you wonder, like, if you spend a lot of time looking in some of these areas that we have in New Zealand, who knows what you're going to catch, man? Like,
yeah. Well, there was a marlin caught down south this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
down off Fiordland.
Yeah.
So it's short-bill spearfish as well.
Yeah. Have they always been there and we've just never
Well,
fished with them?
I know. I feel a few mates down there that live down there, every year it seems to be getting more and more intense. Like they've been fishing for quite a while.
Yeah.
But every year it seems to be more and more. Like the kingies and every year there seem to be more numbers.
Oh yeah.
Like the bluefin have been running down there for.
Yeah.
Like there's documents way back of guys catching them. So the bluefin have always been around, but it was real hush for a while.
Yeah.
The marlin and stuff like that's a mate of mine, he had a marlin free swimming around the boat like a number of years ago down that way. But it's crazy, man. Like the water temperatures seem to be increasing every year, but with the new weather pattern change, maybe it won't happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I often think about this especially with the marlin, because we get the biggest striped marlin in the world by a long way in New Zealand, but nowhere else gets them. So it tells me they don't migrate anywhere. Like they're not, like they quite possibly could be there all year round, but we just stop fishing for them. And then if you think about in real simplistic forms, like this is just me like thinking about it, like there's no science behind this at all, but marlin they hunt visually, so the clear water would make it a lot easier to catch them on lures on the surface because their vision is better. But for our sort of winter months, the water, obviously clarity is not as good, so it could be as simple as they can't see the lures, and we also don't troll around for them. But they are getting caught now that people are fishing during the winter months for bluefin here in the North Island. Like there's been quite a few caught, like, at Waihau Bay in the last few years, sort of in July when everyone's out there trying to get bluefin tuna.
Yeah, there you go, I suppose we can't be fishing every day.
Nah.
So you never know what's around.
Yeah, and small weather windows, like it's not really flat, during the winter very often. Yeah, so.
Yeah, at the end of last year, I was in Australia fishing with the guys over there, and we had a black marlin cruising around our feet, man.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty wild. We were on an island, and this black marlin come through. It was just like a juvenile, but cool,
pretty amazing, eh?
Oh, it's amazing to see. We were casting lures at it like non-stop. It was following our lures, but it just wasn't keen, but it was pretty cool. Like it had us all frothing on it. So yeah, it was cool. I love the fishery that the guys have got over there in that sort of like North Queensland sort of area.
It seems to be pretty like phenomenal. Like I was talking to Bonds about this because he spent some time just over there recently, and the Gold Coast sounds like their billfish fishing sounds phenomenal, but it's kind of not really that sort of common knowledge or spoken about in terms of like a destination for people to go and fish. But he said it's quite common for them to go out and get like 10 shots a day.
Far out.
And that's like, you get 10 shots a day anywhere, that's like phenomenal fishing. But, that's sort of like Brownie and that we're getting this year fishing out of Kawhia. They were getting, some days 12, 13 bites, but it don't happen like that very often here.
Yeah, I think Australia, it's sort of, lots of possibilities, man. I'm hoping to get over there and have another, I will be actually. I was talking to Briggsy just the other day, and we're going to try and organise another trip.
Yeah.
Something a little different. Wading out on the Great Barrier Reef, wading the flats or something, with sort of lighter setups.
Yeah.
He's pretty keen on that, so we might see if a few of the other guys are keen and try and organise something when I'm over there.
Yeah, and obviously Catherine's from Australia too, isn't she?
Yeah. Catherine's from
So
Australia.
all her family's still based there?
Yep.
She's
So
just
her
out here.
parents and her brother, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're actually getting married, man, in November.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
we're
Back in Australia?
Yep.
Wicked.
It's been her dad's dream to have his daughter over there married, and he's since he's retired, he's got a real nice, well manicured rose garden that he's
awesome.
freaking amazing, man. So
Yeah.
it's his dream to have his daughter married in the garden. So it's
At
it's
home.
It's at least we
how
can.
cool is that?
Well, it's a pretty cool thing to be able to return to them. So that's what we're doing.
Yep.
And Catherine's going over sometime in September. I'll go over in October.
Yep.
I'll do quite a few fishing trips while I'm over there with the guys and film some content for my fishing channel on YouTube, and then get married.
Get married, mate.
Come back.
Grown up things.
Oh, far out. Gotta do these things sometime. Eh?
You do.
Yeah, so that's exciting, man.
Mm. And how's she found like adapting to living in New Zealand? She enjoys it here?
Yeah. I think like as of late, she's made a really good, and everyone always told us this would happen, but with the, having a baby and stuff, all those mum groups that they get exposed to, like she's made some amazing friends through those groups. And so every day she's doing walks and going for coffees and stuff like that while I'm away down here. So she's got a good
built her own little community like around her. Eh?
Yep, there's a good circle of friends that she hangs out with. So that makes things easy when I'm away doing the filming.
Yeah.
She's got people to hang out with. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
she's a long way from her family and friends over there, and I mean my family's there, but if you got your own friends, it always makes things better.
Yeah. And then that obviously gives you a lot more peace of mind too when you're out there and away for so long, that she does have that good network around her, eh?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing her though.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and then I'll be hardcore editing. I want to try and get a new hunting video out like ASAP.
Yep, cool.
I've got some more fishing videos that I'm going to publish shortly. The latest video's doing really well on the channel.
Cool.
It's getting some real good views at the moment, so I'm just going to let it do its thing. It's a kingfish video. Oh, actually, don't know if you watched it, but I had a big kingfish come in. I ended up hooking up to him, and then had a massive snapper, man, trying to eat the lure out of the kingy's mouth.
Yeah,
you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen
crazy.
that. Yeah.
So that kingy was like a decent fish. It was a pretty big fish, and you look at the footage of that and the snapper compared, and that snapper must have been a freaking monster, man.
Yeah.
But that particular trip I had, a lot of the kingies that I caught off the rocks all had snapper come up from the bottom to check it out and try to eat lures. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And the footage is there. Like you can see it on YouTube. But I tried to get that snapper after.
Yeah.
I threw out a little molossi lure, and I ended up hooking up to one of the snapper. It wasn't that big one,
yeah.
But it was still a nice fish. Like I don't know how big it was, but it was like a bigger fish, probably close to 10 pound maybe.
Yeah.
But I pulled hook. Well, I didn't really get a good hook set up. I pulled a bit of drag, and then ended up hooks come out. And then a little kingy grabbed the lure a couple casts after, ended up landing that. But yeah, that big snapper, man. I'd love to have seen him up, seen him up close or have a good look at him. But if you go on my fishing channel and you have a look at right now, as we speak, it's the latest episode. I think the title is me holding a lure up in front of the camera, a white molossi lure. The caption's like "first person to fish here" or something. Of the title for it. Check it out, and you'll see the kingy. The kingy's a good kingy. It's like over a meter, like 1.10 or something like that, like a decent fish. And the snapper was like, compared to the kingy, the snapper looks big, man.
Yeah.
You'd think, looking at the footage, you wouldn't think the kingy's as big as it is until you actually see me with the kingy. Yeah. So that snapper must have been huge, man.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, I'd love to see it again.
I think a lot about this, about snapper, because obviously different ways we catch snapper now compared to when I was a kid, and like always used to fish hard on the bottom, just the bait, lead your rig straight on, whatever. But now we catch them on soft baits, and you catch them mid water and all different stuff, and you think like 4 years there's must have been so many fish that have just never ever been fished to.
Yep.
So it's almost like exploring the unknown. Like you're fishing at these fish that have never, like sometimes I've been out in like the Hauraki Gulf or like Firth of Thames, and you're in 30, 40 meters of water, and there's workups, and you cast a soft bait in there, it'll sink like a meter, and you're catching like 6, 7, 8 pound snappers, sometimes bigger, and you're like, it's 40 meters off the bottom, and you're like, for years I never would have ever thought that was possible. Yeah,
it is pretty cool, and that's something I've actually been enjoying lately as well. Well, not lately, I should say, before the hunting season, is walking around the rocks with just 2 light setups, like a PE2 setup and then my little reel light setup as well, which I think is PE.5 or something.
Yeah.
But with just little bait junkie lures and swimming guts and getting onto little islands and like fishing the little cracks and stuff.
Yeah.
And pulling out snapper on the lures, like that's exciting, man.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that I used to do a bit more of, but since I just got way too mad keen on kingies, it's like it took a back step, and as of lately, it's kind of like I get excited about it again, and it's been good fun, man. Like it is pretty good fun doing that, like exploring and casting the little lures and the little wash and guts and stuff, and seeing what you can pull out of them.
Yeah. Well, you got that real nice kingfish on your like soft bait setup with
yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest fish for the season. Well, it was the biggest fish for the season that I caught outside of the King's trip.
Yeah,
and I caught that on so me and Joe were doing this like a filming project, which I'll talk about in a second. But so we're doing like hardcore filming, and it was like the end of the trip. It was the last evening of the trip. We were out for 5 days at this location that I won't say, but it's it's a cool spot. It's like a Jurassic Park kind of place. And anyway, it was the last evening, and I said to Joe Fluidy, I was like, man, let's try and get you a kingy. Let's just put the cameras down and try and get him a kingy. And he was like, he's keen, So he had the heavy set, and then I just had my little PE2 setup, which was a Daiwa sole, a Daiwa TD0 rod, and PE2 braid. So, that roughly equates out to around that 20 pound sort of break and strain, maybe a touch more. A 30 pound leader, I think it was, and a little bait junkie on there, like a little soft plastic lure. And I was like, so Joe was casting for kingies, and I thought, we want to get him a kingy, so I'll just cast the little soft plastic set around, maybe try snag a snapper for dinner, and then back at camp we can cook up a snapper. And like Joe had a kingy follow the lure. It was all exciting. It was a good fish, but it didn't bite it. And next thing you know, we had there was kahawai in front of us. Next thing you know, one of these kahawai was just getting destroyed, man. Like kingies were just pack attacking it. Yeah. And Joe was like casting his lure. It was like, it was hectic. Like it was something that if we were filming, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
There was action stations. And unfortunately, the kingies were just too focused on these kahawai that they were just eating. And we're talking about big kahawai, man, like big ocean-going kahawai. And these kingies were just smashing them. Huge eruptions, huge holes in the water. And it just sort of like, it all was crazy, and then nothing. Everything went dead. So we thought, oh, well, we've lost our opportunity. And then it's like a few minutes later, I was like, what? I was winding in the soft plastic, trying to catch a snapper. And then all of a sudden I felt it go tight, and I looked down, and right at the rock edge, right at my feet in front of me, I just saw this big yellow tail just push away from me, and then a big boil on the surface. Like, I don't know, meteor way swings, like a couple of meters in front of me, guys. And then, obviously I'm hooked up. And I said to Joe, I'm like, oh, dude, look at this. And at this point, my little reel was just like quite steady, just peeling drag, but quite slowish. And then I said to Joe, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a kingy. I didn't see it that well, but I'm pretty sure I saw a big yellow kingy tail. So, next thing you know, like this fish is peeling drag, and then got faster and faster, and then it must have realised it was hooked, and it was just like my spool was emptying very quickly. And I don't know how much line I've got on that thing, but it's not much, they don't hold a huge amount of line, but there's a few hundred meters at the most, maybe 200 meters. Yeah. I don't really know. I should know because I spoiled it, but anyway, long story short, it was a 35-minute fight. And we ended up landing this kingfish, and it was hectic. Like we had Joe ran back and got one of the GoPros. I had a GoPro on my head, which I'd started filming after the hookup and all that. And yeah, I ended up at one point I got swept off the rocks because it was like crazy. The fish was going into the reef and around these little bommies and rocks, and I was like having to like wade out and like get the line off the rocks, and I have no idea how the line didn't break. Like it should have broken.
Yeah,
it definitely should have broken, but it didn't. So there's this one point
good
there.
advertisement for Dial.
Oh, dude, yeah, die with J-Braid, man. Like after that moment, I'm like, I'm putting that on all my reels. But anyway, yeah. So there's one particular moment, like 35 minutes into the fight, it was it got like there's this little sort of submerged reef, and the fish went around it and got stuck on it. I could see my line like through the kelp and stuff. So I like went out to this little bommy, which is like a small rock island surrounded by the water. And I'm standing on this bommy trying to like, lift my rod high to clear that line off. At any moment, waiting for it to ping, but it just wouldn't snap. And so while I'm like doing this, and like my adrenaline's been peaking and flatlining and peaking and flatlining, so I'm like getting exhausted. 35 minutes into this battle, remember guys, I had a loss in concentration, and all of a sudden a swell come in, like a wave came in that was bigger than all the other ones that had been, you know, coming through prior, and I hadn't noticed it, man. And next thing you know, I looked to my left, and 4 meters in front of me was a wave that was sort of towering at the same height as me, and I'm like on this little rock, and there was nothing I could do, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, in my mind, I froze. I was like, all I can do is take this. You know? So I like braced myself, hanging onto the rod, braced myself. The wave hit me, smashed me off the rock. I ragdolled into the water. I had a life jacket on, one of the low cab ones, which was a real good thing because this area we're fishing is really remote and dangerous. Always have to have a life jacket when you're fishing. Well, basically any rock fishing I do, if there's a bit of swell, I'm wearing a life jacket. But this time, this is exactly why I wear them, because next thing you know, I'm in the water getting ragdolled around. There's a real strong current in this area, so it's lucky I didn't get swept out to sea. But I sort of managed to like regain myself. The wave sort of petered out, another wave came through, but I sort of stood up. At this point, Joe Fluty's like freaking out.
Yeah. He's
seeing his brother from his other mother like getting just about swept out to sea and destroyed by waves on rocks. And I stand up and I'm like, I didn't know, like, I don't think I was there mentally. I was just like, what the heck just happened sort of thing. And I like stood up and I like shook myself off. And next thing you know, I'm like, oh crap, I'm still fighting this fish. Yeah. I still had the fish on, man.
Yeah.
and at this point, I'm like, oh, my GoPro had been swept off my head, like lost a brand new Hero 11, lost a pair of Costa Sunnies. Like my arm was all beaten up and stuff, but I'd just instantly forgotten about that. Joe tried to get the GoPro, but didn't, you know, he only managed to find my hat. But in the moment, I'm like, boom, the fish is still on. So I start fighting this fish again. And then, we end up landing this kingy, man. And we get it in, and like I'm fully adrenalined up after this big ragdoll effect. And I wasn't really with it. But we landed this fish, and I hold it up, and I'm like not really there. I'm sort of zoned out, you know, trying to sort of like process what just happened. Completely wet, got completely submerged in the water, everything. And I hold this fish up, and Joe's just like, let me just get a bit of video on the GoPro he was holding. So we got this like a little bit of the footage, luckily from that camera. My camera, which had most of the fight on my head, was never found. We never found it. Swept out to sea, gone. And this fish ended up being a freaking monster, man. Yeah, like a big fish, biggest fish of my season. Yeah. I don't know how I landed it, man.
Yeah.
It was like, there was so much luck involved with landing that on such a light setup. Like I couldn't stop the fish. I just had to basically if he wanted to go, he went. And so many times he nearly spooled me. It was just lucky that he turned, you know, before actually spooling me. So in that fight, there was so much luck involved with landing that fish, but it was just like a crazy situation. Like never would have thought it would happen or potentially even be possible off the rocks on a fish of that caliber. But we did it. But we paid the price for it, man.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah.
So, crazy situation. But I don't know, man. If I ever get a fish bigger than that on a PE2 setup, land-based, man, I don't think it'll ever happen, to be honest.
Yeah. How heavy do you think it would sit in? Like,
that's the thing. Like, I
Yeah.
I don't weigh fish,
No.
so I don't really have a good eye for it.
Yeah.
But it was big. Like I would be saying, like you could call it 30 kilos easily.
Oh shit,
sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I've seen that like image of it, and it's big.
Yeah, it's a
like,
big fish, man. So I don't know. Like you guys can guess what you want when you jump on Instagram. If you scroll down on my Instagram is J.E.Wilds. If you scroll down a bit, you'll see it. You'll see me sort of holding it up, and you'll probably see the vacant look in my eyes as well. But there's a little bit of footage of the fight that Joe captured on that camera, and then there's a little bit of footage of me holding up the fish. But yeah, it's a big fish, like a real girthy fish too, like solid all the way through.
Yeah.
We released it. It swam off, nicely, and
he probably wouldn't have been too beaten up from that fight because there's not a lot of drag on him.
Nah, it was. I mean? I think. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the sort of fight that it would have encountered if I was using my normal setups, like my Saltiga 18,000 P10 setups, because that's just like, lock up and hang on kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But this was like long and drawn out. So the fish was tired.
Yeah.
And after such a long fight, but it swam off, man. So yeah, I'm positive it survived the fight and all that. They are pretty resilient.
Oh yeah.
But generally, a lot of times those big fish, they can have heart attacks pretty easy after big stressful fights like that. But I mean, he had decent colour. He still swam off nicely, and we didn't see him floating or didn't see anything of him after that. So you can only hope that it was a successful release.
Yeah.
Yeah. So crazy though, man.
Yeah.
What an experience. It's like Joe Flutie was telling me afterwards. He's like, man, I thought I just lost you, man. That's how bad it looked from his point of view.
Yeah.
But it was a silly mistake from my end, Like I know way better to put myself in that situation. But I guess in my defence, it was like for 30 odd minutes, I'd been in this little area, bouncing all the way up and down these rocks and doing all this stuff in this little area.
You were in a mental kind of picture of what was where and
what the waves were doing.
Yeah.
So then for me to go out to this little island piece and stand up on it and try like clear my line off the reef, I wouldn't do that if I didn't feel comfortable. So, but the waves that came through were just freak sort of rogue waves, and in that area that it's not uncommon to have that happen. But it was just it happened at the wrong time.
Yeah.
It happened when I was in the place where it would actually make some sort of consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But no, that was an experience.
That's an intense. I didn't realize it was that intense.
It was, man. That's the thing. Like because we lost all the footage of the fight, unfortunately, I can never really share the full story to that because if I had the GoPro, man, it would be.
Yeah.
It would make an amazing video.
Yeah.
If I didn't get swept off and all that stuff, but unfortunately, we lost because that GoPro was rolling the whole time.
Yeah.
And Joe he caught little clips of it on the other GoPro's backup, but as it was, that was the only thing we had left of it.
Yeah.
So you'll see a little bit of footage of it, guys, but it's it's kind of one of those ones that sort of I definitely learned from that, but I should know better. But it's one of those things that just catches you out sometimes, eh? Goes to show you can't be too careful around the ocean, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's like I suppose we talked about it earlier, eh? With the like what you can share through a podcast, versus like. And what, I guess, skill it takes you to be able to share what you do, share through your videos. Because, obviously there's a whole lot of different factors that come into you being able to share and tell that story where, like, in this format, you've got the memories, they're burnt, you can articulate them, you can tell that story, in a different format. So I guess it goes back to the fact of you now having your podcast and being able, and for that reason, being able to share more context to certain things that you either can't film because it's unsafe, like trying to recover that stag, or something like this where that situation's happened. Well, we all don't know the context of that fight. We just see a big fish on light gear with a few little clips. You're like, oh shit, that's pretty mean. Versus like, oh, that's that would have been a scary scenario. And then now, how epic I guess the battle was to that point.
Oh, exactly, man. I think that is a good thing about the podcast, though. They do open up that possibility. Oh, far out, man. What a just thinking about it now, it's just like it's. I don't think it will ever happen again.
No.
For me, like I don't know if I'll ever have. I don't know how I didn't bust that off on that fish. I'll tell you what though, like that lure that I caught it on, that particular lure, I caught some big snapper off the rocks this year with it. All my mates were buying that colour, and that lure was slaying it.
True.
And I think it was all because like we had faith in it.
Yeah.
Like I caught that big kingy on it, and it was just like, oh, which one am I going to use? Oh, I'm going to use the Old Faithful.
Yeah.
Like slaying it.
Just like your blackjack.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. This was it was a, if you're wondering, guys, it was a Daiwa Bait Junkie Grey Nomad Glow colour.
Is that the one that Tony from Moocher Hunters was talking about that night?
I'm not too sure. No, I don't know.
Is it kind of like got a silver and then a white belly?
Yeah, I don't know if he. Yeah,
does he use that one too? Maybe
he's got a favourite colour too.
Yeah,
I don't know if it is the same one or not. But the Grey Nomad Glow, and if you're looking for model wise, it's a 5.2-inch minnow.
Oh,
it's like a little paddle tail type design. And then I had that on. I had like a 6-bar Bait Junkie jig head.
Yeah.
And the perfect hookup too, like right in the corner of the mouth.
Yeah.
But crazy, man. And that particular lure, I had that for the rest of the season, and I was catching fish on it, and it was still going.
Man,
I probably still got it, man. I think I've got it like sitting in my little fishing room.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a, I don't know.
Yeah, frame it, mate. Put on the wall.
It's funny, the things you get attached to. But but no, that was I don't know. You get experiences like that, man, and you just the only lures I'm going to use now is those ones.
yeah. Well, it's like it's funny, you talked about that, like in attached to things. Like you look at my wall, there's like my first ever trace that I caught my first ever marlin on, and then same with my first ever hook rig that I caught my first ever marlin on a lure on, and then there's some hook rigs there from like obviously marlin that I've caught, and because that's always a gift I give to the angler, so it's like if they like that's their thing, so I cut it like this.
Yep.
The listeners won't be able to see this, but like I just cut because with light gauge fishing, you use the hook rig once and then you cut it out and put a new one in.
Oh yeah.
So like that's one of the ones from the triple. So there's 3 there, but I just cut the loop off the end, pull the whole line out, so they got the whole leader.
Yep.
With the hook rig on the end of it, and then that's basically for their, if they decide to release the fish, then that's their piece of memorabilia, along with the photos that they can hang on their wall or whatever they want to do with it. And it's
that's a big part of it too, man. I think that's cool. Like you're sitting around with your mates having a beer or something, and you've got
what's
like,
that?
Right now, guys, we're sitting in Sween's. What would you call this? Your podcast studio / fishing room.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're surrounded by fishing gear.
Yeah, it's not very well organised at the moment, which is not like me, but
but we got like rods everywhere, lures on the wall. He's got a couple of marlin bills. Got those leaders on the walls as like little trophies that he's talking about.
Yeah.
But I think like even Mike at OTL, he's got a little glass cabinet that has a whole lot of lures that have caught big fish and stuff like that. I think I've even got a few of my ones in there that I've caught some big ones on.
The mullet one that's all beaten up.
Yep.
He's got that one. I think he had it at the boat show on display.
Oh, yeah.
And that, how he put those lures in the cap and the desk?
Yep.
Yeah. And it was that one of yours that just got smoked.
Yeah, there's a couple that I haven't quite got to them yet, which is the same. They've been retired from fishing, but they've caught big fish.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, for me, for example, to give them back to Mike and him put them on display and say, like, Joe has caught a lot of fish on these particular lures, they've been retired, that's like a cool talking point.
Yeah.
So little trophies like that, man. Little trophies like that just spark up the adventures, that they've done. And
well, that's what I like them. It like brings, because people will ask, like, oh, what's that from? And, and that's what I say to people when I give it to them. I was like, make sure you like put this somewhere where people can see it, like, because it'll spark that story, and then you'll be able to share, like, oh, this is when I caught my first marlin, and I went with Sweens on his little boat or whatever it was, and there's like context to the story, and and it just sparks those like memories. That's why I like stuff like that, like it's good to, make you think about those things or just bring it up in topic and conversation.
Oh, 100%, bro.
Yeah. It's cool. Real cool. Oh, so you were saying there, you and Joe were filming.
Yep.
What was that?
Yeah, so we're doing it's kind of like a long-term project because with my YouTube stuff, which I'm doing full time, that's all based around just vlogs. Which, if you don't know what a vlog is, guys, it's kind of like a designed to be like a behind the scenes, really personal kind of. I think one of the best ways to explain is if you took a video on your phone, you just held your phone up and you're like, all right, today I'm going to go and do this, and you're just videoing it on your phone, and it's real personal.
Documenting what you're up to. Yeah.
So that's what a vlog is. It's kind of like a documentary, but it's a personal documentary, and it's filmed in like a raw kind of way. So vlogs do well on YouTube, and my fishing and my hunting I'd class them as vlogs. They're not anything fancy. I don't spend too much time editing them. I just put them together in a vlog format and put them out there for people to enjoy. So that's cool and all, and it does well, for me. But personally, I'm a creative person, and I miss making like a cool production. Like I miss making like a cool video that's got a lot of time spent on the edit, all that sort of stuff. Like that gets me going, man. So I haven't really, in the last like 3 years, I haven't really had I shouldn't say had the time, because you make time for things. But I haven't.
Hasn't been like the focus point.
Yeah. So I've had the dream of doing like a more polished sort of production, like a passion project. And yeah, that's been something that I've been trying to work towards and stuff. So anyway, like I don't know how much I want to give away because it's kind of like pretty secret, but I will say that at the moment we're working on a project, and it's a passion project, so it's going to have a lot of passion put behind it, and it's a film project that I'm doing with Daiwa, and the end goal is to create a short mini series, sort of like maybe a 3-part series is what we're aiming for, like very well, like cinema quality production.
Cool.
And with an end goal of like something pretty special.
Yeah.
And the journey involved with getting to that point, but filmed in a fancy production type style, which gets me going. Like I love that. So it's like, we're literally calling it's a passion project, and it's going to have a lot of energy put behind it. And it's a really cool production that I'm teaming up with Daiwa to create. And like we've got some pretty big like views of where we want this to go as far as like what the end, like the release form's going to be. But it's, you guys are just going to have to think about it and just keep wondering. But it's going to be like, when it's ready, and it's a long-term project, because it's a passion project for me, so I don't want to rush it. I don't want to be just get it done kind of thing. I want to like really be enjoying the creation of it, Otherwise it's not, otherwise it defeats the purpose of what it actually is.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like I don't know when it's going to be finished, and there's certain goals that we're trying to tick off to make it possible and to be like the end goal for it. But eventually, once it's all wrapped up and finished, there's going to be like a pretty cool thing for everyone out there to enjoy. That's the goal, and it's going to be, it's a passion project, so it's going to have a heap of energy in it. Yeah, it's going to be a cool thing, man. And it's not going to be a vlog. It's going to be like proper.
And then Joe's sort of working with you on that, like helping with the filming aspect. And
so Joe, me and Joe, we've been like, he's the same as me. He loves to create stuff as well, and so we're filming it together, and I have got a few other guys that I'm getting on to help me do some more filming with it. And
cool.
There's going to be some cool stuff. It's going to be really creative as a plan.
Yeah.
And we sort of we did quite a bit of filming for it last season. Mm-hmm. But it's an ongoing thing. Yeah. And I'm hoping that next year we'll be able to, at the point where we can release it.
Awesome.
And it's going to be a big thing. Like when it's released, the plan is we're going to make a big deal about it, and it's going to involve a lot of people. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
Choice.
So guys, without telling you too much, I know it's probably I've probably been a pain in the ass, even just what I've said, right. But it's like just keep your eyes on the future.
Man.
These are all just like, these are all just dreams, man. Like dreams and goals. And I think like, I don't know, dreams should be I don't know. Everyone needs to have dreams, I reckon. Everyone needs to have something that they work towards.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. Like you mentioned it there, but like a passion project, like it's like how important is passion in life, right?
Yeah.
Like we've talked about, well, everything we've talked about is like we're both extremely passionate about it, and that's why we can sit here for 2.5 hours and just rattle it off the tongue without a stutter, or there's stutters, but without like a big like, oh, what should we talk about next? Because it's what sort of makes you tick as a person. It's what gets you out of bed. It's
100%, man.
Like passion is everything.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate for that, man. Like you only live once, and I've sort of I go by that pretty heavily, and I think like everyone out there, that some advice I could say if anyone's needing it is, set really good dreams that you're passionate about. Set yourself dreams, but see your dreams as objectives. Don't see your dreams as fantasy.
Yeah.
Because everyone can dream and one day I'd love to do that, and it'd be cool if I did that. But if you set it as an objective, like a task, work towards doing it. Don't just dream about it. Actually make it happen.
Yeah.
I think I think that's something that everyone should have in them somewhere is dream big, man, and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you only live once, man.
Yeah. And it's like, when you got that passion, I talk about it heaps, man, but like it makes you push through the shit because, like nothing comes easy that's worthwhile.
Yep.
So if it's really worth it, like if you've got that passion for it, you'll push through and 100%. You'll keep, like sort of striving for it. I seen it so much in my professional career in terms of rugby. There's so many guys that are so talented, but it wasn't their true love or passion.
Yeah.
And that's why it went to a certain point for them. But the best of the best, they all love it. Like they actually love what, either the skill aspect of it or the adversity of it or the pressure that it creates. Like some people love that.
Yep.
They thrive, and then the best of the best probably have all of that in them, and they love every aspect of it, and that's why they are so good because it doesn't come easy. Yep. So when it is shit, they find a way. They're like, oh yeah,
exactly, man, exactly.
Yeah. Which I'm sure happens to you when you're out in the wilderness. Yep. There's a lot of shit situations that you're in, like trying to recover that stag versus like a beautiful weather, sunny days, and you're like, oh yeah, sweet, like this is great, go out and you shoot a stag, but there's for every one of those days there's
adversity you got to battle with,
snow, rain,
for sure, man. But no, I think if anyone needs some motivation to go and do something cool, man, just dream big and do it, just go and enjoy your life, man. Shit,
that's where that's where those like euphoric moments sort of I think about that quite a bit because I went to the Super Rugby semi-final and final to watch the Chiefs, like my old team, and then I was like I went with my son's rugby coach, my youngest son Mason, with Josh, and we're like sitting there and we're talking about the game and like watching it and whatever. And then it sort of came up about like, what do you miss? And then I was just like, man, I miss running out the tunnel. Like for whatever that kind of, I don't know whether it was because you've done the work, you put yourself in a position, you're ready to go. They play AC/DC Thunderstruck or something like that. Yeah. And you run out in front of sometimes, some crowds have played in front of 80,000 people plus. Yeah. And you're like walking out and it's just the energy that's there. It's like all those shit days were worth it. Like every single one of those shit trainings was worth one of those moments. And I got to experience hundreds of those moments, like across my career in terms, probably not hundreds, but, I played 100 times for Waikato, but, like just that, like you never thought about those shit days and those moments. Like you're living in that moment.
You think about the young Dwayne Sweeney. Yeah. Like dreaming of running out that tunnel, man. Yeah. That's the moment that you dreamed of when you were a little kid, probably. Yeah, and you get to do it over and over, or, and it's always good to remind yourself of that too. Like I found myself at times you would almost become numb to it, and then you're like, oh, hang on a minute, like, fuck. You have a shit time or you're having a shit run of form, and then you're like, what I would have given to be
in this situation, or like, you know, to go back when I was that 15-year-old or 10-year-old kid to think, oh, I'm going to run out for the Mooloos. Like it's, always sort of check yourself. And that's the important thing of also celebrate what you're doing well as well, you know? Like you've got those big dreams and you're achieving things along the way to get there. Like take a moment and be like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like I'm doing this. Like who would have thought that you'd be in a position where you can do your two passions, not only like you like as your life now. Yeah. Like that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, man, 100%. And there's something to be said there. Like growing up, this is what I wanted to do. You know, this sort of stuff, and I wanted to enjoy my life and do this. You know, I could be doing anything right now, man. I could be doing a normal 9 to 5 and being completely happy doing that. But I had the dreams of doing this, so I worked extremely hard and did everything possible to make it happen. So it hasn't just happened. It's been a dream that I've turned to an objective that I've made a reality. Yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Well, and the other cool thing I think about with yourself is you pioneered it in a way too. Like it wasn't something that it hasn't been around that long. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, when for me to be a professional rugby player, it's like, oh, there's the All Blacks, and you grew up like seeing that as something to do, but you didn't grow up with YouTube. You know what I mean? Or like, so that goes back to the creativity side, and then also the courage side to be like, okay, I reckon I can do this. There's not a blueprint, I guess, to follow. Where for me, I could be like, oh yeah, if I train this hard and I make that team, that's a step, and then I go to that team, and that's a step further, and then I go to that team, and if I, you know, can execute these skills, then I can do it. Where you're almost like pioneering a way for yourself to make it happen, which takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, no, I think, you're right, man. It's a big learning curve, eh? But I think like you surround yourself with the right sort of people. Like a lot of my mates overseas are doing this full time as well. So to have, like we got a pretty cool little group that we can bounce ideas off and help each other out to grow each other. So, you know, definitely without my mates over there doing it, it would, you know, I don't know if I'd be where I am now, but I'd be back a little bit, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What's that community thing, eh? Like you spoke about with Catherine moving here from Aussie, and she's built a like community around herself as well. Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same with, well, you know, it's the same for me when I was playing rugby. You gravitate towards people that are, you know, similar passions and drives. And I always found it really cool as an athlete to try and learn off other athletes, the different sports. I don't know if that was just me or a lot of other people did that, but I always I enjoyed looking at what other people do and how that works and how that might cross over. And I guess the main thing that gravitated me towards those people, just like the podcast has done, it's like I respect what people do and what they've kind of done to put themselves into that position to be able to do what they do really well. Yeah. And that's, you know, it's cool for me, and how, like, that's why I love my podcast. Yeah. Just because I get to talk to people like yourself and, you know, Brownie and Brendan McCullum and Sam Kane, you know, like this All Black, you know, Sam's a little bit different because we're mates and we played together, but I never would have thought I would have got to sit down with Brendan McCullum, the Black Caps captain, now the English Test captain, and ask him all the questions I dreamed of asking him because I was a fan. And then we get to sit down and yarn about it. And you get context and learn, like, you know, what sort of his mindset was around things. It's pretty cool.
Oh, 100%, man.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, what else you got to say, Sweens?
Me?
Got any takeaways you want the listeners to hear?
I think, the biggest takeaways is what we're probably just sort of finishing with, I reckon. Like, I have a lot of respect for you as a person and what you've been able to achieve, and that's, you know, that'll come through pretty clear in the podcast. But then, you know, like that fact of, like, you had a dream, you turned it into an objective and you worked towards it. And it's, I think a lot of us can get short-sighted and think, he's just really talented and that's how that happened. But it's it's not that. It's like, you know, yes, there's talent helps to start things, but it doesn't make you persevere. And, you know, you throw in the passion side of it and then the drive.
Yeah.
And then that's where, you know, like the dream goes from a dream to, or a fantasy to an objective, and then you work away at it.
Yeah.
So I think for people, it's like find what you're passionate about. You know, like if you're passionate, it helps with the drive, and it'll make the shit days worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I completely agree with that. I've got 2 things I'd like to say.
Yeah.
One of them is, you only live once, dream big and do it. And the second thing is buy some dye with J. Brady. Because it's
so good.
It seems to be invincible. But yeah. Anyway,
wicked.
man.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Joe. Like, yeah, thank you for interrupting your journey home, and it was wicked to catch up again. Like, really, really cool. Yeah, like I said, I respect what you do and you as a person. So for you to be able to take a couple of hours out of your trip, I know you're itching to get home and see your family. It means a lot, and it's pretty cool that we can share, you know, like the conversation that we had today with some keen and eager listeners.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me. And yeah, hopefully some people have got some value out of it, man. But we'll do another one.
Yeah,
no doubt.
We do.
I'll probably see you up north next time I see you.
Yeah, it won't be 3 years. We'll
Well, the thing is, we've seen each other like heaps.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
about
it is
time we
hard
actually-
to sit down though and put like, you know, 2-3 hours
Yeah.
aside.
Yeah.
You know, life does get busy and it gets in the way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really, when I say I appreciate it, I really do.
Yeah, man. No, it's been my pleasure. It's always good, eh? It's
Yeah.
always a good chat. So thanks for having me, man. And thanks for listening, guys. And
Yeah.
jump on the YouTube channel, have a look. J.E.Wilds Hunting, J.E.Wilds Fishing, Instagram, J.E.Wilds. And yeah, reach out. Any questions, fire them through.
Yeah, I will say that Joe's awesome at that. So if you do have questions, or, you know, you like do give him feedback and do ask him questions, because he is awesome at responding. So
I try my best, yeah.
Yeah, mate.
I definitely try my best.
cool. Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
Cheers, bro. See you next time.
Yeah, mate.